My dad, like some things I see, like I said, 6 people on the table at night, hanging out, talking, drinking. I see money, I see mountains of powder, beer,
And you
cigarettes,
remember all
the
of
whole,
that,
yeah,
huh?
I'll tell you like this. And so like I would see them from the couch, I'll be watching TV and I would see them, hit the table and like, do that number. So in the morning, when
Oh
everybody would wake
no!
up and they'll be asleep, and I'll walk through the kitchen and grab the empty beer cans
And you're so
and I would look at the
small.
table and see the glass and I'll see the residue on there and I'll be like, and I remember my gums getting numb. But at first it was like basehead shit, user shit, right? And then overnight it turned into, can you get this much? And I told my partner, I said, I think that fool just flipped, bro. And he goes, why? And I go, he's telling you that he has a friend that needs this much. I go, he went from this to this, like overnight. And he's all, man, you need to start smoking weed, fool. That shit's paranoid the shit out of you. I don't know that fuck.
We're not wearing that old shit. We're wearing the new Paisley Bandit sweatpants.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Indicted TV. I'm your host, Negra. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and follow us on Instagram. Before we start, you already know I gotta give a shout out to my sponsors. Royalty Honey, keep it hard, guys. Also for the best jewelry for his glory. If you guys need a party bus for quinceañera, wedding, whatever it might be, or just a luxury transportation, make sure you guys hit up Elite Exclusive Transportation. Also, if you have gotten in a car accident and you need roadside assistance, make sure you hit up Los Duros Auto Collision. And you already know, we're only wearing shaka wear around here.
That's right.
And on
The
today's
shaka.
episode, we have Rick. Welcome to Indicted TV, Rick.
Welcome. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming. How are you? How are you feeling? You okay?
Feeling great.
Oh,
I'm
good,
alive and
okay.
breathing. I'm not underground.
Ay,
I'm not in a
gracias a Dios,
cell. You know
right?
what I'm saying? We're good.
So tell us where you're from, where you grew up, your mom, dad. How was the inside of your house growing up as a child?
So I was born and raised in San Fernando Valley, Silmar, San Fernando area. And, we grew up in, I was born into the housing, like government housing apartments already, that's all I knew as a kid. As my mom was there when she was 16 in one. And before that, my grandma had raised 5 girls, which, including my mom, and 1 boy in the Pocoima projects. And so back then they were like, when they were, developed for housing to help people, they were like the few white side of the family, because my mom's, she's white, she's German. And so it was like that side of the family grew up living in the projects, but it wasn't quite yet gang or nothing. It was just more of a race thing back then.
For sure. So I'm thinking like in the 60s?
Okay, so my mom's 61, yeah, and she went to the elementary school across, so we'll put it 60, 68, 67,
Yeah,
maybe,
because my
something
mom was
like
born in
that.
63, so you said 61. My mom was 63, and she was born in 63.
Okay, yeah,
So
yeah.
around, like in the 60s.
Right.
Okay.
So then when they opened up some new ones in Silmar,
Okay.
they bounced over to those when my mom was 16, and then that's, where I was born into.
Okay.
So, that's
In a house full of girls.
Well, it's my mom had her own little apartment right there, because once you're in, it's kind of like,
You want to stay.
residential preference. Like, say, okay, you moved in with your mom, now you have a baby, they give you the next open apartment.
Oh, okay.
Because you're already on like Section 8, you get what I'm saying? But I have my dad lived with us too, and my dad, rest in peace, he was on the thug side, so his thing is just straight. He was a gangster, not a cholo, not from a neighborhood. He's from Chile, so he was on a different level, gangster shit. You know what I'm saying? And so, like, I always grew up watching, like, my mom and dad kind of, they loved each other, but it was always my mom trying to get him to leave his friends and
Typical
household.
Yeah, typical lady trying to like get him away from his friends.
Right. So that's what I grew up in. And I would see my dad do things, and I was a kid, but I don't think my dad realized that at that age, when I was watching him do the things he was doing. That,
Do you want to tell us what he was doing? If you don't mind?
He was from Chile, so they grow the cocoa paste over there.
Yes.
And he when in the revolution, when Augusto Pinochet, the dictator from Chile, was killing people and rounding them up in soccer stadiums, just mass massacring people, fool jumped on a boat and just like
vanished over
and
here.
he ended up right here in Long Beach in front of Terminal Island, and on a container ship, 21 days. He didn't know where he was going. He didn't know nothing. He just jumped on that ship and took off, And so he was the black sheep of his family. And then when he got to like Long Beach, he met some people at a soccer park. My dad was always good playing soccer. And then those people ended up being from Michoacan. And so, you kind of put that picture together right there, right?
I definitely put it together.
And so, for me to see guns and, fools getting slapped around in the house and,
yes.
dealt with and stuff like that at a young age, I started to idolize it, I saw how when my dad walked in the room, people stood for him, and you don't realize when you have a kid that they're observant like that, but we're really sponges.
For sure.
Right? And if you're a boy, you don't want to grow up and be like mom.
No.
You want to grow up and be like dad.
Yeah.
Unless you don't have a dad, right? Then that's a different story. You grow up trying to be the dad.
Yes.
So, my dad, like some things I see, like I said, 6 people on the table at night, hanging out, talking, drinking. I see money. I see mountains of powder, beer, cigarettes,
remember
the
all of
whole,
that,
I'll tell you like this. My brother wasn't even born yet, so I would have been like 6.
Like my son's
5,
age.
6. And so like I would see them from the couch. I'll be watching TV and I would see them, hit the table and like, do that number. So in the morning, when everybody would wake up and they'll be asleep, and I'll walk through the kitchen and grab the empty beer cans and whatever had a little left in them. Today we call it backwash, but me, I was like, I'm gonna get drunk like Pops, right?
And you're so
And I would look at
small.
the table and see the glass, and I'll see the residue on there, and I'll be like, and I remember my gums getting numb. You get what I'm saying? And I didn't know what it was though. I just seen them doing it, having a good time,
That is
laughing
terrible,
and looking back, like
Obviously,
I said, it's,
yeah.
and I could see why my mom and my pops always argued and, went like that with him. But when you're born and you meet somebody in that lifestyle, it's like you love them or don't love them, right? Ride with them or don't ride with them. So my mom rode with my dad whether she liked what he did or not. She was just like, well, he comes home.
Brings money.
So, it was a love-hate relationship. And, they never knew that I did that.
Is your mom alive?
She's still alive today. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she's still alive.
Well, she's gonna know now.
Yeah, no, she's still alive and blessed, because my mom never, no matter what my dad put her through, my mom never let my dad change who she was as a person.
Oh, yes.
My mom will take her shirt off her back if it was raining outside and you needed it. She'll do anything for you. So my mom's like a God-fearing person. She's completely opposite of what my pops was.
And I feel like that's what usually makes relationships work. You can't be the same.
Right.
You will destroy each other.
Yes.
I feel like if you really, whoever's watching you guys and you sit there and you analyze every couple that's been with each other for minimum 10 years, or let's just say even 5, 6, 7, you see them and they are 2 completely different people. And somehow they make it work.
Opposites attract.
My husband and I are completely different.
2 different, yeah. So, it's I try to respect, the business of what it is today, because people still live that lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
And, there's things that I've seen that you would see only on movies. And when I say movies, Spanish movies.
See.
Spanish news. And I seen it as a kid when my dad clicked with these people and we're going down to Michoacan as a kid, because back then it wasn't the Patriot Act of 9/11, so the border was a little more controlled by money and, corruption. So,
Señor Los Cielos vibes.
Yes, going down to the ranchos and stuff like that, seeing tree trimmers and things like that at 7 years old, 8 years old now, it's like,
And
okay.
you ni en cuenta.
No, I mean, I seen it.
Yeah.
I seen these things like as a kid, and I remember my padrino, he's still around, and he'll be like, eso le pasa a los pinches ratas. And I'll be like, oh, yeah, like, and because I see look at my dad.
You were part.
Well, I'm looking at my dad. I'm a kid, and I'm looking at my dad. I'm thinking this is like a joke, at first. And I'm looking at my dad, and I'm looking for his emotions. And he's...
Emotionless.
So my Nino talked to me. I'm like, oh, yeah, like, ¿sí me entiendes, cabrón? Yeah, whatever, all right, So... to me, normality is a little more extreme than what most people are used to,
And how was school for you?
School for me was, it was weird because growing up young, I got bullied a lot because I was the bigger kid. Okay, so like in elementary to junior high, I was just kind of like finding my way around. I had my group of friends, but we were just a group of friends at the time, and we were childhood friends growing up in the same apartments. And because we lived in those apartments, we were like outcast from the rest of the city. You get what I'm saying?
Yes.
Fools were like, oh, you fools are wearing Pro Wing 500s from Payless, if you remember those. And stuff like that, So we would get bullied around, and then, like all things, if things start to form, right? Hey, man, we're always together, and we're not going to let one or two dudes just run us around. So we started to kind of turn the tables on people, and I remember I would come home crying sometimes to my dad, and, he'll be like, ¿Por qué lloras? Me pegaron en la escuela. ¿Quién? ¿Cuántos? I said, dos. And he would take his belt off, right? A ver, ven pa' acá. And I'll walk to him thinking he gonna give me a hug or something, and he'd just take flight on me, pull the belt, start cracking me with it, and like for a kid, it was brutal. Then he would be like, Párate, stand up. I'll stand up, looking at him, shaking, crying like a kid, Stop crying. My jaw shaking. Bam, slap my jaw. Stop shaking your jaw, You alive? Yeah, don't you ever come home again telling me some kid beat your ass. You just took a grown man ass whooping. You know what I'm saying? Now get the fuck out there and go do what you got to do. Don't come home crying again. You ain't my son. Yeah, I said, all right. And so, like, my pride was hurt, okay? The ego. Mm-hmm. And it flipped the switch inside of me.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, do you feel like that's when your life started changing, obviously, to, like, troubled? Like,
yes.
When you became,
yes.
you already became what led you to going
yes.
into prison. Can you recall the first time you ever got in trouble by the cops?
I mean, it was just one and done for me, pretty much.
So, so as a teenager.
At 16, I got caught with like a movie prop gun, and I was going to go intimidate somebody or whatnot, and the kid's sister called the cops, and I had no idea, and they came, and but when they got to where I was just sitting in a car. I hadn't gone to do nothing yet, and I was in front of a liquor store. And then the cops came with the helicopters, and I'm thinking, damn, who fucked up, Fuck, there's a lot of cops in the helicopter, right? Here? And then all of a sudden, the lights, like in the parking lot on the truck that I'm in, and they get behind the car, and, they start, put your hand, and I'm realizing, like, damn, this is for us, like crazy. So I put my hands out the window, whatever, they open it, they pat me down, they don't have nothing, they go inside the truck, and they find the movie prop gun with sound ammunition, like blanks, right? Mm-hmm. Just make pop noises. And they just arrested me. They took me to the station. There was no real charge for that.
Yeah, but did you feel obviously at the time you probably didn't know that there was no real charge, or were you completely aware? Like,
I didn't feel that I did anything wrong. Like in my head, I was like, all right, worst case scenario, I'm a juvenile. They ain't gonna do shit to me anyways, right?
What were your thoughts while you were inside that cop car?
Just that I more had to deal with my dad when I got home.
It's always a thing. Yeah. It's always like, for me, it was always my mom, right? But
I said to myself, you know what? I'm gonna get my ass whooped when I get home, right?
It was, it's like it was always my mom. Like, it's not even like the whole I'm going to jail or like dealing with the cops. It was always more like, oh, my mom.
Well, see, they messed up, right? Because they had the window cracked. So once they sorted through it, the cop was telling the cop, and I'm real trucha,
Oh, you were
I'm
listening.
and he goes, what do we charge him with? He goes, we can't charge him with anything. He's a juvenile, and he didn't have a gun. He doesn't have drugs. Like, he's like, we're just going to take him in and call his parents. So right then and there, I was like, that's right. But then the panic that I had was like, when I call my mom and my dad's going to have to come get me, right? I was worried about that part, But,
You're sending me to jail.
it was almost... Yeah, it
Right?
could have been that way. But surprisingly, when he picked me up, he told me, ¿aprendiste? And I told him, yeah. He goes, no, you didn't. And I go, yeah, I did. He goes, you're my son. You didn't learn nothing.
He knows.
And he goes, I'm not going to give you shit about it. He goes, but hey, he goes, just letting you know that in this lifestyle, this is what to expect, right? And he just left me alone. And I was like, damn, man, like he didn't press me. He didn't. So like I put a little pep in my step, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, okay.
Like,
I thought you were cool.
Yeah, hell yeah. I was telling all the homies in the apartments, yeah, if I got busted last night, and I thought I sounded cool telling fools that shit, you know what I mean? And
Of course.
it just, that's what we glorified right there. We seen it like growing up. So, it was like, oh, you got busted? Yeah, fool, for what? Oh, I got caught with a fierro or whatever, a little shank as a kid, So for us, it was like little stripes, you know?
Did you say a gun?
Yeah, a fierro or a gun, little homies get caught with a gun or get caught with a knife.
No, I'm saying you.
Oh.
When you got caught, what did you tell him? Did you tell him it was a movie
Oh, I
prop?
told him it was the prop gun because, matter of fact, it was like we all shared it.
Ah.
Right? Like, like I said, we lived in a little community in little apartments with a gate. So to go to like Carnitas, Michoacan at the corner or something, it was like a half a block walk. But to us, it was a mission because the real world was out there. And like fools patrolled that block left and right, because at the time fools were trying to claim that little block. And they would just come out and it didn't matter who you were. They wouldn't even ask you where you were from or nothing like that. So they would just come and terrorize people and let it be known until, and back then it was the Bloods were trying to claim some of that territory right there too.
Got
so it was
it.
just kind of cross, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. But if it wasn't this, it was that. It was always jumping off right there.
Yeah. So it definitely wasn't safe for anyone.
To be walking. So that's why we shared that, like, hey, fool, let me go, and we had figured that at that age, we had already figured that, once you pull something out, most people aren't going to test you. Ain't nobody thinking that's a movie prop gun. They're thinking, damn, these fools are going to blast me. Mm-hmm. So it was more like psychological warfare instead of really having to kill somebody with it, right? Catch a body. For us, it was more to get you off of us than to catch a body, right? We weren't really trying to do that. Remember, we were getting bullied.
Yeah.
So, we were like tired of it already. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, of course.
So, yeah.
So what happened? So this happened when you were 16, you're saying?
Yeah, it happened about 16. But
And
after
you were
that,
still going to school?
I did. I went to high school. I graduated high school right there in Sylmar. And, I participated in like extracurricular activities. I played football. I did
You're
a lot.
a good boy.
Well,
Sounds like you were a
kind
good
of
boy.
funny because like I found a different avenue than what I was used to because most of the times living in the apartment, you go to school, you get chased home, right? And then you get home and you tell the homies who chased you, and then we got brothers, and well, not me, but they got older brothers that are, they're already there too. So it's like who, and so it became like a thing. Like, watch, I'm gonna catch you slipping, fool. You got me, all right. It was cat and mouse game. Then when I got to high school, I got a little bigger, and I started putting some size on me or whatever, and and I realized the power of my body and stuff like that. And I was already, I was already in the streets, so I kind of knew that fast life, gang life stuff, right? Mm-hmm. And I just, I thrived off of it. But honestly, playing sports, like if you were to reference this to youngsters today, a lot of people ask, well, how do I get out of this without dropping out? You become a legend. You become somebody people want to brag about. Like, that's my homie right there. Mm-hmm. He made it to the NFL. That fool went to college. He's playing for UCLA. You know what I'm saying? So, when you're playing football, you're playing sports and you're excelling and stuff, people are more watching you now than like, what's up, fool, where you at?
Yeah.
And so I tried to give it a run, right? But then when I graduated...
You're a tall boy.
Well, yeah, and I was pretty fast, like for being on my feet, I was real athletic and I could hit because we were getting jumped at a young age. So to me, getting hit with shoulder pads didn't really hurt.
Yeah.
And when I got to when I graduated high school, and in high school too, like it was kind of a hit and miss thing because everybody's trying to do the right thing. Most of the homies got a girlfriend now. Back then they're like, hey, fool, I'm gonna go throw a Mac real quick. You know what I'm saying? hey, so-and-so, some girl wants to scam on you, fool. Like,
For sure.
So our lingo was a little different. And so mostly everybody become like little lover boys, right? And then,
especially at the 16, 17 years old.
Yeah, the testosterone's
control,
pumping.
bro.
And then,
what is that?
After the football games, going to the flyer parties with the homies.
Because you're how old, if you don't mind me asking?
Right now, I'm 45.
Okay.
Yeah, I just turned 45. So, we go to little flyer parties and kick it, and then you run into trouble there. That's on the weekend.
I'm going to be 44, so I understand.
You do. The party scene, right? And so, now we're discovering the party scene too, like our little groups, right? So we're going and, hey, these fools are going to be at this party. So we just roll up to these parties on the weekend and it's puro cagar palo, you know what I'm saying? And you know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean.
And rest in peace, to a lot of fallen soldiers, that went out there and we just went out to have a good time, you know what I'm saying? And things happen and
everybody was just dancing. But it's crazy because you either look like a cholo, a rebel, or you were a jock.
That part. It was the cholo scene. Pelones, you know what I'm saying? Like straight pelones and then, a little bit of the hairnet scene, right? And then the party boys, right? So the rebels or the party boys from the party crews or the jocks.
But the party crew boys look like cholos. Some.
Yeah, they did. They did. I give it to you. Except you always knew because them fools used to pluck their eyebrows, right?
Yes.
So you always knew. You always knew who these fools were, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's a pretty boy, party boy, and that's a fucking homie right there.
That's hilarious that you say that because it's so true.
And the rebels walking around with the Mickey Mouse gloves and
the Harley boots.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, the ravers too, the groovers,
Fruit Loop backpacks.
Yeah. That's hilarious. So then, what happened? You graduated high school.
It was weird because when I got to my senior year, I was down credits. And I would get little letters from minor colleges that were trying to recruit me and stuff like that for my senior year, and they're just letters of interest and my mom would be on the phone talking to my aunt. She'd be like, oh, he got another letter from this college and this one, and I'm so proud of him. And I would walk by and I would just put my head down and go to my room
because you knew you were behind on credits.
I knew I was gonna let her down, right? And I would go to the room and then I would just sit there and think. I'm an overthinker,
I'm like, when's your birthday?
So I'm a Leo, but I'm an overthinker. So I would sit there and, at night my mom would go to sleep and I'll climb on top of the thing and grab my dad's stash of, weed, the brick weed back then. And I'll break up some stuff, smoke in a can and just like feel sorry for myself because I said, damn, I ain't gonna make it. I ain't even gonna graduate. She's over here telling my aunt that I'm going somewhere, right? And so I walked into the counselor's office one morning and I was just like, yo, I need to graduate. I don't know what to do. You guys always say closed mouth don't get fed, so come talk to me if you're hungry. She's like, you're behind a lot of credits. She goes, to be honest with you, it'll be a miracle if you graduate. She goes, you're gonna have to go to Saturday school, you're gonna have to take a night school, adult school. And I was like, all right, well, so I was like, let's try it. And I went home and I kept it real with my mom. I was like, Mom, I've been fucking up. You know what I'm saying? I go, I don't think I'm gonna graduate, but if you let me borrow your car, I didn't have a license. I said, I need to go to Saturday school. She goes, borrow the car to go to Saturday school. She goes, we live across the street. And I go, yeah, but that's like, they're holding it at the Coima Skills Center, it's
a different place.
It's in a whole different area, I can't even walk there in 3 hours, but driving is 10 minutes. And that was a hot zone too, right? It was a zone that, our side of town didn't really
get along with. You
just don't go there if you're not wanted, you know what I'm saying? So then I told her, and it gets better. She's like, what? I go, it's night school too, you know? And she's like, what? What are you saying? You know, and my mom worked 2 jobs because my dad was just in and out, flowing around, like doing his thing. So as long as I got home from school, I could take the car from my mom when she went to her second job, and I was smashed to there. And the lady seen me, and I start going through it fast. You know, I was like, hey, can I take the books home? Because I could get more done. I'm only sitting here a couple hours because you guys close. She goes, you really want to graduate, huh? I said, man, it would make my mom proud. So I grinded as much as I could. And you know, I seen like, I just went through it so fast. I passed. She gave me everything. The day that my class was graduating or practicing, they had their seats. My seat was not there yet. It was, they counted me out when they were practicing. And I had like 1 chapter left, but the chapter is like a full day's work. She goes, how much do you have left? I go, I got 1 chapter left. And she goes, come here. I go, what's up? She goes, what grade do you need to graduate? And I go, it has to be a B or higher. So she put an A. She goes, get out of here. Go make your mom proud.
Aww.
And I remember I had a little pipe in my pocket, right? And I already had a bowl packed because it stressed me out. So I get in the car and I'm driving away happy. And I got my Silmar football shirt on and my shorts. And I hit the bowl, and there's a motorcycle cop at the corner. I ain't got no license, right?
No.
So he sees me, and I'm trying to play it cool, and I drive up, and he comes behind me, and he pulls me over. He's like, did you really just do what I thought you did? And I was like, I did. He goes, are you okay? He goes, did you not see me? I go, honestly, man, I just told him, I said, hey, look, man, I wasn't supposed to graduate. And I go, I got this paper and I got to get it to my counselor. I go, I'm got a little anxiety. I can't even control myself. I'm about to tell my mom that I'm a graduate when there's not even a chair for me. And he goes, he sees the shirt. He goes, you go to Silmar? Like, yeah. He goes, I don't know why, but I believe you. He goes, get out of here. He goes, oh, and give me that. So
there you go.
Take that shit, you know? And I didn't have a license. He didn't ask me if I had a license. Like, it was just the story of smoking the weed in front of him. And I smashed. I went to the school. I gave him the certificate, whatnot, you know. And my counselor looked at me and he goes, there's not a chair for you up there. And I was like, the school year ain't over yet, man. Graduation day says this day is at school. Like,
you're
really?
Gonna put it in?
And I told him there's still students in school right now. Because, you know, the last week of school, everybody's kind of bullshitting, getting yearbooks signed off. And he goes, all right, man, I'm going to give you a seat. Go up there, jump in practice. Tell so-and-so, you know. And they put me right there. So, you know, for me, when I graduated, I can't even tell you how much I appreciated it.
Because you worked so hard for it.
But it gave me more ammunition to be, like, cocky, to be a, you know, kind of more like, I did that, you know what I'm saying? Like, all right, if I could do that, I could do anything. And fools are like, damn, fool, you graduated. So now, like, people are looking like you really made it to the graduation. And, you know, you get what I'm saying? Right.
It feels good.
It does. But it made me feel more like I gained another level of status, you know what I'm saying? Like, I've always thought that, like, my father, he always taught me. So I've always thought that you could be a gangster who just wakes up daily and is a dumbass gangster. And I don't want to use certain words, you know, as far as classifying people. So we're just going to say thugs.
Yeah, we'll say thugs.
You could be a dumb thug and go in and out and whatnot and, you know, violence. Anybody could use violence. My pops always told me, like, be an educated gangster. Be an educated thug, smart. Right? And a thug with money and brains is worse than a thug with no brains and a gun, right? And you know, it didn't always click in my head what it meant. You know, your parents could tell you something, but still to this day, there's stuff that my mom and dad told me that barely starting to make sense because I'm their age now. I'm mature enough, you know?
Completely.
So that's how I saw that, you know, and when I got the diploma, I was like, okay, you know, can't nobody tell me shit now. I did that. I got my diploma. Can't nobody in the family clown me. You know, none of my homies can't, you know, tell me this, that. And I seen homies dropping out left and right from high school because they just couldn't do it. They'll go from high school to the continuation school to fuck it, you know. And that gave me a little more arrogance.
So what happened?
I I decided to try like taking a summer off, the first summer. And I'm like, man, I need a break. And I just want to party. I was in the party scene, with the homies. And we weren't the party crew. We were like,
just going to the parties.
we were knowing the party scene. And then, homies are chain snatching back then. Like, someone come in, bust up in the air a couple times. Everyone starts running, panicking, and the homies are just snatching up cadenas like, come here, come here. And everyone's panicking, so they're just running. And at the end of the night, we would have 20, 30 pagers, because pagers was the thing. We have chains, just things, whatever things people dropped. And to us, that was our come up. That was feria right there. We would get the chains, go sell them go to LA to the alleys and whatever and sell them and get money. And that party scene to us was more like, I think it was our we went to go pray on, we started, girls would tell us, hey, these fools are over here now, they're at this party, or they'll page us and call them, what's up? Hey, we're at this party, woo over here. Oh, really? All right. Hey, fellas, let's roll, And we'll go down and just terrorize. And our little group, we got bullied growing up. So when we turned into the people we were, it was like, all right, we're putting fear and intimidation at all costs. And if a fool does,
because you guys didn't like that feeling,
right? And if a dude does cross you, now I'm using my pops mentality, whatever's, we're just not gonna take no for an answer. And once you kind of see that power come in, you kind of like it. And then for some reason, forgive me, audience, or whoever's watching, but for some reason, it feels like, I'm not going to say they do, feels like girls like thugs.
Girls do.
So when we're out there thugging and these girls are just...
the young girls, especially the girls, obviously, if the girls are in the scene, they like that, or else they won't be there. For a perfect example, I always have the homies before, right? Say, I'm going to find myself a good girl. Like, fool, what is a good girl? Ain't no good girl gonna want to be with a cholo ass fool. So the girl likes cholos. The girl likes cholos. She messes with fools from different neighborhoods because she likes that type.
But it's always the one that looks like the hija de papi too. Mm-hmm. She don't look like she likes the pedo. You get what I'm saying?
Those are the worst ones.
Man, tell me. So.
Those were your favorite.
Well, growing up, I said, you're in the mix, right?
Yeah.
Today I'm a grown man, so I think a little differently. I'm more mature, I managed to change that, but that's later. When I was younger, I thrived on that.
Yeah, you liked it, of course.
I had just broke up with my high school sweetheart. We broke up. I didn't break up with her. We broke up, right? Like, it just didn't. She wanted me not to be.
She's watching.
She didn't want me to be. No, she's married with with her family and all that
life.
stuff.
Obviously, you guys were kids.
I haven't talked to her in a long time, but
you guys were kids,
right? And so when we broke up, that was my first love. So believe it or not, thugging or not, I was heartbroken. And I didn't know how to take it. So instead of being like bundled up,
oh, you just being with a gang of girls.
I was just out on the guys like running amok, and I noticed that every time we went out and did this madre,
more girls.
It was like, hey, what's up? What are you doing? I got my homegirls, you got your homeboys, and the motel parties, and so I got caught up in the life. And when summer was over and it was time for me to finish, like partying and start get to work, I couldn't hold a job. I had tried Yay for the first time, you know what I'm saying? And like
actually
righteously, right? And I just couldn't function. I had a job at UPS. I worked at Magic Mountain, and if you can't say that, blurred out or whatever. But I worked in good places and had opportunities that today, if I would have stayed there, I'd probably be retired already.
I was gonna say that, yeah.
Okay, but it's crazy how life will put you through a journey. Because when it's your time, it's your time, and it wasn't my time. I was just
too young,
right? And I couldn't get it right. I get to UPS, and I'm like, man, I gotta come in at 3:30 in the morning, right? All right, I'm good, And keep in mind, I was partying somewhere at 2:30 in the morning when I looked at the clock and said I gotta go to work, and it was daily. And so to me, I like to call those self-inflicted gunshot wounds, right? But you don't realize
you're destroying yourself.
You don't realize it then. You're young, your body's taking it. And then I started to just, network and whatever. And like a year later, I went back to junior college and tried to do it, and play football. And that was like the time where the chronic was crossing over into Kush, right? It was back then. It was like Bubbleberry Chronic, Blueberry Chronic, and then you start hearing about OG Kush and Master Kush, and crazy prices on this new strain that's out that smells like dog shit or something. And I realized that I had always sold weed back then, right?
Okay.
And so once I got to the junior college and I seen how the people I was meeting were more people with money, and these were people with the underground grow houses.
What years were these?
This was like 2000, 2001, 2002. And so instead, now I'm seeing myself like the vision my pops was telling me about being educated and still making money and being a thug and gangster and carrying yourself
Correct.
a certain way. Now that's starting to make sense to me because I met the connects. Okay, no more. Well, my homeboy said he only has 2 left. Do you want them? Oh, but he's gonna charge you this much. Nah, I met this dude and I told him, check it out, dog. Like, I got you. You don't need to go nowhere else. Everything you got, just shoot it my way and we're gonna take care of it. And for some reason, the guy trusted me, and I did good by him. And that dude, he made his money, and when he finished the 2 years of junior college, he disappeared. He went to another university, transferred out, and we never seen him again with that. So I stayed chasing because I had already developed something.
I see what you're saying.
And I stayed chasing that. And now I'm meeting fools that are selling other shit because they're buying my tree. And so now people are asking me, hey, fool, can you get, nah, not really. I'm always, the tree guy. But, it just, when you're young and dumb, the opportunity was there.
And you took it.
And you're just like, well, you know what? This fool's like, hey, big dog, I know you don't fuck around, but if you ever need mine, I got 2, woo, woo, right? So you're just making calls and networking and stuff. And that's what led me to get into the road to where I ended up getting incarcerated. You know what I mean? But again, I'm leaving a lot out from, my father to let my father rest in peace, but I glorified a lot of his lifestyle, and I tried to put bigger shoes on than he ever had on.
If you don't mind me asking, how old were you when he passed?
Oh, he passed away in 23.
Okay, not too long ago.
Yeah, he passed away the day, I used to own a studio in Santa Clarita, and the day that Crip Mac got out the first time, they interviewed him at the studio there, and my dad passed away the night before. And then the very next day, they interviewed him in the studio because he came home. They brought him down to the studio and whatnot and used the studio for the interview. But yeah, that's when he passed away. He was 70.
So he did get to see you go through all kinds of things.
He did.
And let's rewind. So you said you kept a lot of things out, meaning like the years that passed, or what do you?
No, the violence and stuff, because like, and I know this is Indicted TV, you know what I'm saying? And I watch a lot of interviews and respect to the people who come up here and talk about their stories, because I feel like our youth needs to hear it. But I also feel like it doesn't need to be glorified.
No. I didn't know what you were holding back.
Yeah,
I just meant like the years.
It's graphic stuff, like real graphic. You know what I mean? Like stuff like I said, stuff you see on Spanish news channels and stuff like that.
If you didn't get in trouble by it, we don't want to know.
Right.
So it doesn't even matter, right? So we're gonna probably erase that, right? But so what led you to going to prison? Let's go there. What are your charges? What happened?
So
how did it go down?
My charges were conspiracy to distribute methamphetamine.
Okay.
And possession of a firearm. It's a 924C. Possession of a firearm in furtherance of a drug trafficking crime. So the mandatory back then, I don't know what it is today, because I see a lot of people getting sentences that back then wouldn't have never made sense to some of us. And so, but my charges carried a mandatory minimum 10 years to life and 5 years to life on my charges. Now, obviously, the life factor depends on criminal history. If you take it to the box,
especially when you go, because you got indicted, you went to federal.
Federal, right? Don't just don't pass go, don't collect 200, straight to the feds type shit. And if you're a first timer, no criminal history, and they give you the mandatory minimum. You either take the mandatory minimum or you go to the box and you fucking, or the only way to break a mandatory minimum, to my knowledge, there's a few different ways, but they all come down to the same concept, right? And that's like getting hired in American Idol type shit. You know, you got to tell them something.
Yeah.
They don't give you nothing for free. Nah, my lawyer, I had a good lawyer.
No matter
He
what, you
knows
do the mandatory
judge.
minimum.
Yeah, you know, but I'm saying and I say that because you hear a lot of people say, why you only get that much time for those charges? Oh, I had a good lawyer. You know, my lawyer knew the judge, and I don't know. You know, like, stop, homie, stop. Some people don't even realize that you trying to sound harder than you really are just gonna get you in trouble. And excuse me, when I'm getting caught for the same thing you're getting caught for, and my lawyer basically, I had a hired attorney. My lawyer told me the way it was. So you want to cooperate? You don't need me. He goes, I'm just here to make sure you either get the mandatory minimum or you want to go to trial. And I listened to what he said, so it made a lot of sense to me. He goes, the only way, I'm not even going to lie to you. He said, the only way you're going to get less time is if you help yourself and you don't need me. Okay? So I was like, I got you. And that stuck with me through my bid. You know, I got the sentence, the 120 plus 60 stacked on top, 180 months, 15 years. And throughout the years of talking to people coming in and out, I got 33 months, for this. I got 45 months for this. And you're like, hey, you know what? I think I got to go check my email real quick, and walk away.
Especially in the feds. Like,
yeah.
In the feds, you don't really know. That's why when people say things like, bro, you don't ever know who people are in the feds.
Yeah.
It is what it is at the end of the day.
And you have to be real selective.
Even
if you're all in the same car, right? And it's weird because some people will come to you and tell you, hey, you see that dude right there? Yeah. He's kind of like hot, suspect. So like move at your own risk. And me, I'm like, hold on a second, bro. I got my driver's license with me. So I take it upon myself, hey, homie, remember the other day you came and shook my hand and introduced yourself to me? Yeah. All right, check this out, big dog. Like, I want to know who you are. Here's my shit. And they'll look at it and either two things will happen. They'll, all right. Solid motherfucker will be like, all right, I'll be right back, homie, They'll go and come back, you sit down, and usually you hit it off real well because you got something in common. Mm-hmm. Your paperwork is right.
Your PSI.
Your PSI, and not just your fucking PSI, okay? Your PSI could say one thing. It's your JCC, the judgment and commitment. That tells you
everything.
They gave you the 180, okay, they gave you the 180. If they gave you 72 months or 45 or 50 months, it's going to say why you got that. Right? So that, you got to go hand in hand.
Yeah.
Well, some people will be, all right, he got that, but like me, I'm like I said, I'm an overthinker, So like me, if I ain't fucking with you on that level, I got nothing to talk to you about.
So wait, let's go back, right? So
you got me busted.
So you got arrested. How did you get arrested? Like, were you being watched?
My partner was, I was already doing my thing here, and I had a little smooth thing going on, right? And my partner, his girl cheated on him.
Fuck.
And he was living here with her. Well, I don't know if she cheated on him or not, but she didn't come home or something like that. And this fool like left her and packed her shit in a trash bag, made it all dramatic when she came home and told her, here you go, here's your trash, get the fuck out. And then that fool was like, hey, bro, I'm leaving. I'm gonna go to another state. And I was like, for reals? And he was like, yeah. I'm like, man, homie, I don't know why you would leave Cali, like I'm a Cali boy. And he's like, I'm just going to go check it out. If I don't like it, I'll come back. And I was like, all right. Well, he came back 2 weeks later and rented a U-Haul and put all his shit in it and took off. And he went to Iowa, to another state. And while he's right there, one of his homegirls that lived out here, moved out there a while back. Well, he linked up with her and she's a little, drinker and party girl, you know what I'm saying? And so this fool calls me like, hey, what's up? And I'm like, what's cracking? And he's like, can you get da 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 da? And I was like, oh yeah, And he goes, I said, where you at? So he gives me an address. Back then, there were no Google Maps, This is 2005. So I'm like, I go talk to my pops, and he goes, look, son. He goes, I'm international. Do not go into territory you don't know. And I was like, all right. He goes, yeah, you're going to say all right, but you're going to do it anyways.
Fact, I was literally about to say that.
He goes, and he told me that. My dad always kept it real, And he goes, but do you, son? He goes, just, you came to me for advice, and I gave you my advice. He goes, but it sounds like you already have your answer. So, and I did,
For sure.
My partner's my partner, So I'm like, where are you at? Give me an address. I go to the store. I buy a Thomas guide. Highlight that shit out, right? And
That you're doing something new.
yeah, the map. And
Like
I was
nobody's done it.
excited, right?
Like no one's done it.
What? I mean, you hear about it. But back then we didn't have social media. So like, you only heard about these things. Like I said, there's their story. You become a legend, in some kind of way.
Yeah.
And back then to me, that's what becoming a legend was all about. Like, all right, I got the area unlocked, you know what I'm saying? Now I'm gonna expand my territory, right? I'm all pumped up,
Calm down.
So, but hey, like I said, now I'm thinking pop status, right? So I kind of went around looking for somebody that wanted to roll with me, and I was telling all the homies, like, what's up, dog? You want to roll with me? And, I'll split it with you, Oh, no. And then,
Nobody was down.
One of my other homies, he told me, hey, take so-and-so with you.
Oh, no.
And I was like, well, no, so-and-so had one of those names. You just didn't want to, like, that dude was like, he was feared, like he was with the business. And I mean, he wasn't on no higher status of nothing like that.
He was
like,
just a down-ass fool.
he like us, but his name just like, when you heard his name, it was because he was just like the Grim Reaper. So when he told me, take that for with you, and I was just thinking, damn, homie, you really want me to catch a case, right? Like, and I'm thinking like life type shit.
And you took him.
So that fool, he called me. He goes, oh, so-and-so. And when you talk to him, he sounds dorky, right? And he's like, so-and-so said you needed somebody to drive with you. And I was like, fuck it, fool, roll,
Oh, no.
And I became cool with this dude. Well, and no disrespect to anybody that has a significant other at home, a wife, a girlfriend. But looking back now, the signs were there because he was always on his phone. And back then, the phones were like free nights and weekend. And if you were starting to text, you had to hit the number so many times to get the letter you wanted, and 10 cents a text. So this fool was always on the phone with his old lady, right? And we would be chilling, partying, and he's, oh, hold on, let me talk to my, my wife. And he'll be on the phone, whatever. Anyways, it lasted. We made a few trips, and we were making some big bucks, and on one of those trips, I met the girl that my partner had out there. It wasn't his girlfriend, but I met her, and she had introduced some dude to my partner, and that dude started asking for a different type of product. But at first, it was like basehead shit, user shit, right? And then overnight, it turned into, can you get this much? And I told my partner, I said, I think that fool just flipped, bro. And he goes, why? And I go, he's telling you that he has a friend that needs this much. I go, he went from this to this, like overnight. And he's all, man, you need to start smoking weed, fool. That's just paranoiding the shit out of you. I don't know that fucking kush shit you smoking. Oh, it's all high-powered shit, fucking... This supercharged shit you're smoking got you all fucked up in the head. And I'm like, all right, dog. So in the small town that we were in, we lived on top of the newspaper company. It was like an apartment, the way it works. They're old towns, like 3,300, 3,200 people. I think at the time the population back then was like 2,200 or something. And so you walk in, the door to the left is the newspaper company downstairs. The door to the middle goes up to a 1-bedroom apartment, a 2-bedroom apartment, and a studio apartment in the hallway. and then it has stairs that go out the back. So the bedroom window to the apartment we were in, we had like those see-through vapes or drapes, not vapes, but the drapes that come down. And so when someone's behind it, you could just see a shadow. You can't see the face and I was laying there one night and I had the strap with me and I had my hand under the pillow and I was sleeping on the bed and I saw two dudes come and they were looking through the window and I knew they were looking through the window because there's a floodlight through the hallway that lights up the hallway, so I could see the shadow of them looking in the bedroom window. So I just laid there, and I kind of just like, damn, who the fuck was that? But I was watching. I was pretending to be asleep. I'm thinking people are trying to jack us. And, because there's the gun laws in the state of Iowa, they're lenient, and fools out there shoot you just for howdy type shit,
Uh-huh.
And I'm thinking that. And then when I seen them leave, I got up and I looked out the window and they went that way. So I looked out the window and I seen them get into a red van, like a plumber's van. And it was a dull red van. And I went and I told my partners, both my partners that were in, the one I brought with me and the one that was already out there. And I said, hey, they were asleep. And I said, hey, two fools just looked through the window, dog. I go, I think fucking somebody's trying to take us, And they're like, are you in there smoking weed again? And I was like, bro, I ain't fucking playing. Like, I'm serious. They got into a red van. And then this fool says to me, oh, bro, fucking that red van's always out there. It's a plumber's van. And I was like, yeah. And he goes, yeah, they're fucking tweakers, bro. And I was like, all right. And I brushed it off. Like, it just kind of rolled off. And then the dude that my partner was in communication with owned a property out there. And there's a lot of forest, like woods, right? That dude cut trees down and sold the logs to people to make like paper or whatever, And then my partner had told him, hey, yeah, we got some new toys. Can we come to your property and play with them? And, he was like, yeah. So he started avoiding us. That was back when he first came around. But now he starts avoiding us. And my partner's telling him, like, when can we go? When can we go? When can we go? And he's not trying to hear it. And he's blowing us off. So I told my partner, let's just go, bro. Like, let's go see, maybe he's...
So what this
so we pulling up. And he's driving away. And we're trying to, like, stop him. Like, hey, we're here, And then finally he stopped. And the look on his face just looked something wrong. And my cousin's like, what's up, man? He's like, I thought we were going to barbecue. I thought we were going to do this. I thought we were going to do that. Whoa, whoa, whoa. And the guy's like... oh, well, and he didn't know what to say to us.
I understand.
And I go, man, that was a weenie, bro. Leave him alone. I go, he don't want us here. You know what I mean? I go, look, blue eyes, white skin. I go, this guy doesn't want us here, fool. Let's just roll, So he's like, all right. He goes, hey, well, call us when you're ready to barbecue, still thinking like everything's all cool. Well, what had happened is this dude was on work release. And in those little small towns, you can go in for the weekend and serve 3 days and then come out and go to work and then turn yourself back in until you do like a 30-day sentence. Well, this fool got caught with the little stuff that he asked for. Trying to take it back in, he had it hooped. Okay? And they snatched him up, and that was number 3 for him. So just like I felt, he turned, and the next phone call was...
let me get a lot more.
Right. And that's, later on we found this out, right? Through the paperwork. But, they don't put his name. They put CI. But you know exactly that's the person we're dealing with, right?
Yeah.
The story it's yes.
Yeah.
So anyways, this dude, he starts, having this guy... trying to communicate with my partner.
All of a sudden now.
And yeah, like, here, you talk to him. And so one day we went out to like a pond and the dude's right there and my partner gets off and says hi to him and I'm like, fuck that, I'm staying in the car. Then he comes over to me and he tries to talk to me. So I said, hold on, man, I don't talk from the car door, And I got off, and right in front of him, I put the piece on me, right? So he knew I had one. And he shakes my hand, and I shake his hand, and it's just too hard of a grip. And he's like, "What's up, man?" He's like, "Oh, I like to go fast. Do you like to go fast?" I was like, and I was fresh off a blunt, so I was stoned. And
First of all, I'm slow as fuck.
Yeah, and I go, "Homie, I like the slow lane." I go, "I don't know what you're talking about." And he goes, "Oh, yeah. He's like, "All right." And then he looks at him and he goes, "These the right people?" And he goes, Yeah. He goes, and I don't know. I got in the car and I told my partner, "Hey, bro, let's roll." Like, he's like, "What?" And I go, "Let's roll, homie." I go, and he was like, "Hold on, man, let me get the money." So he does his little thing. I'm sitting in the car, and then we drive away, and I tell him, "Hey, fool, that fool, he's a cop." I go, "He holds guns every fucking day, homie. I could tell by the grip, his skin, his face." He's like, "Oh, he works for the railroad company, bro." He's like, "We're not in Cali, my guy. Just chill out." And I was like, "Nah." So we went home and we had a meeting, and we sat down and we talked, and I told my two partners, I go, "Look, this is my case. This is how I feel." And they're like, "Nah, fool, the money's good," and yada, yada,
Sometimes
yada.
just can't
and
see.
I said, "Look, y'all can have this shit. I'm out of here. Okay? You know where to get it. You know what to do. I'm done. I'm bouncing." And as soon as I was getting ready to leave, I went downstairs and I put my suitcase in the car, and the other fool was with me. We were going back to Cali already. Like, they had kind of like got aguitado, like, "Well, whatever's left, we'll send it to you, whatnot." Well, somehow, some way, and then, in the paperwork, at the time it didn't make sense, but once I saw the paperwork, they were watching me leave. So they had that fool call my partner and say if we had anything left. And he goes, "Yeah." He goes, "Oh, they're leaving already." And then let me take this back. When we were at that pond, my partner was telling that dude that we were his people from Cali, and that we were pesados, we were heavy and whatnot, and don't try to talk to them and step on toes. They don't play that game. These fools are really, whatnot, and he blew some smoke trying to, like I said, everybody wants to be the man until it's time to go pay the time, right?
Of course.
So he's telling them, like, "Don't deal with them. Don't ever try to step on my toes and go behind my back," So later on, they treated us with a little more respect when they busted us. And when I say a little more respect, when I say a little more respect, it wasn't a local law enforcement. It was, they sent the big guys for us.
Okay.
Right? And so now, when I'm getting ready to leave and they call my partner and tell him they'll take the rest, he calls me back and he's like, "Yo, they just called. They'll take the rest. Why don't we just go do this real quick and you can take your money and we'll be done." And I was like, "All right." I'm like, "Look, I'll take the car. I got the piece. I'll be across the street in case you get jacked or something. I'll watch you." And that was really the way it should have went down. Okay?
You didn't.
He said, "Come on, fool, just roll with me." And I already had a nice blunt rolled because, it's a long drive back from, so for me, I don't count time. I'm like, it's a blunt here, blunt there, blunt there. Oh, we're going to smoke 12 blunts by the time we get home. Like, just on some free life type shit, right?
Yeah.
And then when we're getting there or whatever, finally my boy tells me, "All right, fool, we'll get it, just roll with me." And I was like, "All right." So we tell the homie to stay upstairs with dog and, the
rest.
the suitcase or whatever. No, the work wasn't there. It was in the car. And then when we're pulling up into the parking lot, I'm telling this fool, "Tell these fools we don't got nothing on us. Tell them to follow us out to the country. And we'll go out to the country. Let's get away with a lot more shit out there." You know what I'm saying? And we pull in the parking lot, and the first thing I see is that fucking red van. And then I look, and I see the van moving, and I see another car, a station wagon, a green truck. It's like 6 cars that I pointed out, okay? And I said, "Hey, fool, I do not like the scene right now, dog." I go, "I had the chills," and I was smoking, and I had the chills. And then he's like, "Bro, would you throw that fucking blunt out the window? I swear to God, everything you fucking say, you're fucking high, man." Whoa, 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 whoa. And I'm like, "All right, bro." So we pull up. Dude's in the passenger seat. The guy that tried to shake my hand. And then the dude is in his car, the informant's in his car in the driver's seat. And we pull up, and my partner tells him, he picked the vibe up quick too. And he goes, because I told him, I don't like that car, that car, that car, that car. And he's thinking I'm paranoid. And when I lean forward, like, kind of like looking like this, my partner tells him, hey, we don't got nothing on us. You got to follow us out to the country. And that dude in the passenger seat said, no, man, we're busy. We'll just take it right now. And I go, what the fuck, bro? That shit didn't make no sense. Go. So he starts driving away. And every car that I pointed out, that van included, the van and the station wagon looked like they were going to crash in front of us. We were going out like this, and they came, and I was like, watch out, fool. And then by the time they did that, they jumped out. So I'm watching, fools jump out with masks and, shields and guns that are like on Call of Duty type shit, like just guns that you see in movies. And then when we went to look back, I heard the back window buzz. Boom! And the other cars that I noticed, they were behind us and they just broke the window out. They grabbed our hands, took us out of the car, whatnot. They searched the car and they caught me with the gun. But they couldn't find the dope. And they were looking for it, and they started pulling out objects in the car, and they were putting it on the hood of the car, and they're looking, and they're like, I had a Avion water bottle or Aquafina or whatever it was. They put it on top. There was a unopened jar of Arizona iced tea on the top, and bags of chips and shit that they were searching, and they're like, did you find anything? And they're like, no. So they're like, they walk over to the informant, and they're making it look like he's getting arrested. Then they start talking to him, and he comes back over, and he tells them, hey, what the fuck is an Arizona iced tea? Like, oh, it's on top of the hood. Let me see that. So they give it to him, and he's looking at it, and it makes noise. It sounds like there's water or juice in there. And he's trying to open it and whatnot, like play with it, like thinking it's got pressure because he shook it. And then the other officer comes walking over, and he says you have to unscrew it from the bottom. So I'm already like,
Y se te bajó el azúcar.
the whole feeling in my body was just like, fuck. But I'd never been busted. So in my head, I'm like, all right, probation, slap on the wrist, fuck it, I'll be out of here.
But in other states, especially Iowa, is when they give you it's where they give you the book.
Okay, and I'm not knowing this, right?
Out here it's completely different. It doesn't
I used to joke and say, oh, if there's feds out there, those fools are on horseback. You know what I'm saying? Like, I would clown like that. Because, like, when you're, moving Holly on the street and, other fools are moving Holly and fools are just locally in your hood doing things like that
it's
or
different.
Whatnot, you don't really think about cops. And if you do, you're not even thinking Fed level, like, damn, like, this is big. Well, the reason why the feds got the indictment and got approved to do what they were doing was because old boy mentioned that we had asked him if we could shoot on his property. And like, cause he had, big forest property. And so he mentioned there were guns involved. And that's when the ATF got involved. And then, they involved the DEA and the FBI and then they got the local task force. And it was funny because the local task force told them fools they didn't even know that we were doing anything in that town. Okay, like
nobody knew.
It wasn't like fools are on the block over there. It was like, oh, okay, and it was mostly tree. To be honest with you, cannabis. It didn't cross over until
later.
Pendejo started asking for that kind of shit.
Yeah.
And so, back then the profit margin on a whole, like, whatever it was, the profit margin was like 18,000.
Yeah.
But we're thinking 18,000 of like, all right, we're coming up on each one. Today I seen it like, no wonder it was so much money because it wasn't
around.
It wasn't our money. And it was their money. They were paying that much money because they were throwing their investigation and they were doing whatever was possible to make it enticing. Because I remember telling this fool, I'll come out there with weed, but I ain't coming out there with other shit. until
sense.
until the number made sense.
Makes sense.
So in a sense, like, they threw the bait out there and I took it, right? But then, like I said, the fact that I could get guns legally out there because I could pass their background check, it made it easy for me. And so, like, this goes back to when I graduated. Today I call it a long-term criminal thinking behavior pattern
Yeah, for sure.
that we develop. But when I got my
Did you
my
learn that in
diploma,
LARDAC? Just kidding.
I started. No, I did not.
I'm just
I
kidding.
didn't get it because of the gun charge.
Okay.
But the pattern, right, of getting away with things and being sophisticated. I'm like, oh, okay, I'm a thug, but I don't have a background.
Yeah.
So I could get these things, and if they do bust me, so what? It's mine, right? But I didn't know that when you cross it with dope, it becomes a bigger charge,
Yeah.
and that you have to stack that. So that's
So what happened? Did they arrest you right then and then?
that was it. That was the last day I seen freedom, and
And where did you go?
they took me to a small town jail. And, awkward because, like, they stripped me of my chain, like, my clothes, the things that valued me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Jordans, I had a Carmelo Anthony jumpsuit, I was fly, you know what I'm saying? And it's crazy because I was more worried about that than I was worried about
Your life.
my life, right? And then when I'm thinking, like, oh, this, that, we go get arraigned, they read the charges off, and I'm like, wait, 120 months to life. 60 months to life. I'm like, and I'm like, hold on a second. Like,
Finally clicks.
and then I'm like, that's a whole ass decade and a half. That's 15 years, So now I'm like, man, I get on the phone, I call the attorney, I pay him the money that he wants, and he comes and talks to me. Before I take your money, he told me all the stuff I mentioned earlier, right?
Mm-hmm.
About, do you want to proceed using me? Hell yeah, I'm thinking I'm Johnny Cochran right here going with this dude, So that's.
So what happened when you entered? So you went to this little jail, and from the little jail, did you go to?
They send you to another county because this county was just more for like booking and like detention court dates. They sent us to a bigger county that has a contract with the feds, and that was in like in Des Moines, in the big city. So now we're in their little system right there. And
How was your first experience, like as you're like walking in? You know what I'm saying?
so when I'm walking in, I'm just thinking like, well, I'm about it. I'm about the lifestyle. So, and in my head, I'm like, okay, fool, like on the street, you're an alpha, and everybody in here's an alpha. But still, amongst alphas, there's bravos, right? So I'm just like, in my head, it's always been like do or be done, So I walk in there, and I'm close to Chicago, and at the time, there's a lot of dudes in there from the BMF indictment.
Okay.
That are getting popped up, the Chicago gangs and stuff
And
like that.
how long did you fight your case for?
For just a little under 2 years.
Okay.
And it's not even that you're fighting the case.
You're
It's
just there
the,
waiting.
It's the process that they keep giving you.
Yeah.
They drag you out.
6 months,
right?
each court
So
date.
when it was all said and done, it was like I want to say it was about 2 years that before I got transferred over to the federal system.
Let me ask you this: your partner from over there.
Mm-hmm.
What was his nationality? Was he white or what was he?
He's on the white side.
Okay.
Right?
I mean, not that it matters. It's just for the people to understand, right?
So he's that white boy that grew up with the homies.
Okay. But what happened to him? Did he end up turning?
So no, hell no.
Oh, okay.
Okay, no. My partner, the original partner that lived out there, right?
Yeah.
When we get into this holding cell thing, whatnot, they're telling me, hey, your partner's in there telling, yeah. You might as well just tell us what we want to know. And I just looked at him and I was like, well, if dude's telling you don't need to know nothing, I go and I do recall you reading me my rights. They're like, yeah. I'm like, I'm lawyering up.
Okay.
So they bring me out, and then they bring my partner out, and he's like, hey, fool. He's like, these fools are trying some crazy tactic shit. Dog, remember where we're from.
Oh, the homie from...
My
your
partner.
homie from the area.
No, my partner, because he's from the area too.
Oh, he just moved out there. That's right.
He moved out there, because
Yeah.
the situation. So this fool's like, he's like, remember where we came from? He's like, he's like, hey, fool. He's like, I ain't telling them shit, want a lawyer. And these fools are like, they're treating us like shit. The marshals now, they're like, shut the fuck up. They're talking shit to us, and they're talking shit to us for, like, because they're getting ready to transport us from that to the bigger facility. And then the next day we had the pre-bond hearing to see if they let you out on OR or whatever that shit is. Well, when I see the homie, that I took, this fool's all aguitado, you know? And he's like, and I'm like, don't trip, fool. I'm like, me and dude are gonna just, you got busted at the house. Because when they hit us, they went to the house and raided the house.
And there's nothing there.
They didn't find nothing there but some cash, right? And it wasn't even like a significant amount of cash. It was just like pocket change type shit, couple thousand. And so they got him, no evidence on him from being in the, in the apartment that day or whatnot. So for a while, we're all together. And then when we go to our arraignment hearing to get the bond, they take you into the federal detention center, and you're where the court is, and they're like little metal cages. I'm sure you know already, like you see them. But we're sitting in there together, and we're going to see if they're gonna let us out on bond.
Yeah.
So when we go in, my lawyer comes to me and he goes, I'm just gonna be honest with you, you're not gonna get the bond. And I go, why? He goes, they're asking you to cooperate. You said no. They're not going to do it for you. And I was like, okay. So I go in there, come in, come out, like real quick, denied. Boom, I'm a flight risk. I'm not even from there. I don't own a home.
Facts.
Nothing. And then my partner goes in there and he comes back and same thing. And so we're going to call him Fulano, right? Fulano goes and I see, he's like, what happened? And we're like, they denied us. And he put his head down. So then like me and my partner were chilling right here, kicking it. And waiting, and fool, they said no, and we're talking, and we're just trying to be cool. And then like time goes by, and we're like, where's Fulano at? And we're like, damn, that fool's been gone for a minute. And then I hear him cough down the hallway. And I'm like, I heard him cough. I know he hears us talking. So I'm like, Fulano is like, what's up? I said, what happened? He said, they're gonna let me out. And I looked at my partner, and he goes, that fool flipped. And my heart sank.
I heard.
Because that dude, the thought of him, like him doing that was like a no-no.
Of course.
Okay? And so I was like, nah, like I'm thinking, okay, hold strong until you see, proof. When we go back and they're driving us back to the detention center where we're at, me and him go in a separate van, and they take us upstairs, and we're on one wing. There's 3 wings, and we're on one wing. And the fools that were in there, they were kind of looking at us like low-key, like heroes or something, because, oh, y'all the Cali plugs, right? You know what I'm saying?
What you're saying.
Fools are trying to network with us, and the case was kind of like heavy because, it was blown out of proportion, right? So these fools are like, hey, no bueno, man. The black dudes from Chicago out there. Hey, they police came in here and they took y'all homeboy shit. They put them in that wing. That's the wing, man. That's the wing where they got them all. And we're like, what are you talking about?
Snitches.
And they're like, yup. They told us, hey, them fools are all hot boys over there. Those are keepaways. And I was like,
Dang.
And I looked in his cell and it was empty. And then I seen that fool on the phone from across, and I looked at him and I told him, really, fool? And like, I'm not gonna bang on the door. I just go, really, fool? And he's like, and he put his head down, and I was like, damn, dog. And so they let him out. He was supposed to go to the halfway house and wait for us to finish our court, and then they were gonna deal with him, right? Most likely like probation, time served, whatever. Because that was their only key witness on our side, like that could have deciphered the phone calls and meetings and stuff like that. But he took off. They gave him his cell phone, his wallet, money, and he went straight and bought a bus ticket, and he took off, and he just disappeared. But his statement stuck.
Dang.
Okay, and I've never seen this fool again, like
So,
ever.
so what happens? You get sentenced to
180 months.
180
It's 120. 120 months, 10 years, and 60 months on the 924C charge, which is 5 years. They stack it and make it 15 years. And then, they sent us back up, and we started our little process in Con Air and transferring to different prisons.
Tell me about your prison. What prison did you get? How many prisons did you go to?
A few, So in total, I did 12 years and a month straight. And so when I first got busted, I went to Leavenworth in Kansas.
Tell me about that experience. Like, tell me about your first celly.
Okay, so like when I got there, they were putting me into like, there's like a little like there's wings, right? It's I don't know, I don't know how the state does it, but
I've never been to
know,
state. I only been to the fence.
So there's wings like with tiras, you know what I'm saying? And so they will come in and I'm on a new roll or whatnot, and I didn't know, but like the fellas right there, they kind of have shit on lock. So when you're coming, they already know you're coming. Mm-hmm. And so they put me in a cell, and the first thing I was thinking, like, damn, I can't cell up with certain people, So, like, I'm going to have to take flight on somebody if they put me in a cell I ain't supposed to be with. I get there, and the dude tells me, what's up, dog? You're...
What?
And I'm like, yeah, what's cracking? And he's like, you from Cali? I'm like, yeah. He's like, hey, come on, man. So I was like, all right. Slide in. He's like, hey, so-and-so, such and such. And I'm like, oh, okay, there are home, out here. So I'm thinking to myself, like, what's up, dog? Like, anybody else around here? Kylie, boom, go on, meet everybody.
This is your first time on the yard.
Yeah, because I'm coming from the detention
to the prison now.
Right, and so this fool tells me, Kylie, and we go down to the end, and there's a cell, and there's a gang of fools just partying right there on the block, and you always hear, from people when you ain't been in there, just, hey, try not to look in people's houses, you know what I'm saying? When you walk, eye level up type shit. So, I know how to conduct myself, I'm already fought a couple times in that county jail up there where the detention,
and those 2 years,
federal people,
something had happened to you,
Oh, no, it was just popping because we're from Cali and those fools don't like us out there.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? Now, they control the TVs. It's their block. It's their pod type shit in the county over there. So, I got into it with one of them fools from that indictment over the TV.
The BMF fools?
Yeah. It's
Tell us about that.
We were watching.
Which one was it? I'm just kidding.
So look, man, like shout out to them dudes because make no mistake, them fools are gangsters too.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? They're just a different color,
of course.
and some are punks, some aren't, Some,
like everywhere.
Right, everybody got the with the business fools and everybody got the let's talk it out type shit, right? And so back then it was the World Cup, or was it the World Cup? I was a Copa Concaf or something. I don't know. It was a fucking soccer game, right? And the paisas were right there, and a couple of the fellas too, like two of them. But them fools were like from Kentucky and like Nebraska.
There's like a lot of homies in Nebraska.
Okay, but they're claiming they're like different. With the number too, Like they're using the number behind it, and I'm like, but these fools never been to Cali. So they're looking at me like, homie,
like, what do we do?
You lead the way, right? Yeah. And I'm like, fuck.
I never been.
Right. But one thing about me is I've always had a leadership quality to me. So I said, like, hey, bro, we want to watch a soccer game. And I was like, well, put it on. And they're like, nah, them fools don't allow it. And I'm like, who? So they tell me, it's vice lords, right? And they tell me, and I'm like, all right, well, who's in charge? And they're like, dude right there. Dude right there is damn near handicapped, but it turns out he got blasted at point blank with a shotgun. So, he walks all funny. And I go to him and hey, what's up, my guy? Like, with all due respect.
World Cup. Let me watch them.
I just told him, with all due respect, G, like, we're from Cali, homie. And I understand, like, this is where you guys are at. I go, but we're all about to hit the yard, homie. And when we hit the yard, you already know what time it is. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's coexist in here. Let me get a slot on that TV right there, and we'll be all good. Oh, fam, man, all you gotta do is ask, bro. Woo, woo, woo. So I'm like, we're trying to watch a soccer game, All right. So we're watching the soccer game with a BET Awards or some it's basic channels over there. So something airing on like Channel 7, ABC, or whatever their local channel was, and some fool got out of the hole. Well, I guess this was the number one on their indictment for that particular hood on that case. So He wasn't the number one on the case. He was the number one on that indictment for that area. Section, that hood. And he comes in, big ass dude, man, but skinny. And he comes in, he's like, yo, hold up, man, what we doing watching this shit? And then them fools are like, hold up, dog, he's like, who? And he goes up there and he changes the TV, he's like, man, the awards are on. And I'm thinking, damn, and I look back, and I see these fools looking at me, but I'm already not even tripping. So I get up and I'm like, hold on a second, man. I walk over there and I change the TV back. He's like, who was you? So, I let him know. And his boy's trying to tell him, bro, we gave him permission to watch the TV, man. That shit ain't that. you know that. And then I turned and I was like, gave me permission. I said, I came to you like a man and asked you if it was cool. I go, but I wasn't really telling you that, can we get a slot? You know, it was going to go one way or another. And that fool got all mad. So he went to go change the TV again. And I just took one on his chin because he's bigger than me. So I took one on his chin and I went to swing a few more times. But that dude just went down like face first, you know. And then I looked at his partner, you know, and I'm thinking like, yo, you know, the way we get down, there's no fair fight, right? Come on, you know, you're going to get us all. So I'm thinking, you know, and I look at the dude that's halfway crippled. I take flight on that fool, and in every pod, there was like at least between 4 and 7 of them in every unit of the building because their indictment was so big. They were even shipping some of those fools to other because they didn't want them like together, mingling, right? And that dude, he you know, his chin went down. He took it down. I start, you know, grab that fool. I bombed on that fool, and I'm thinking that other fools are getting down because I'm hearing the chairs and the commotion. And I look back and everybody's against the fucking wall with their hands up, right? And I'm the only one chunking them with these fools, you know what I mean? And you know, like, thank God I held my ground because the other fools didn't want no smoke. Them fools were trying to beat their case, so they didn't want add charges. And me, I'm like, fuck it, dog. Like, we're going, you know, like, it's just a focal in your head that switches, you know? And once I start to see that kind of like environment, I start to thrive on it, right?
No, I understand completely what you're saying. It's
like a lion eating blood or something, you know? Like I just enjoyed it. So I was like, all right. Anyways, we can take him down, go to the hole, whatnot. And next thing you know, there's a Latino spot for the TVs, the AM and the PM, and every pod has it. And some have it before lunch and after lunch and whatnot. And then when I get out, you know, that was my first scuffle that I got into where I got caught, because usually you go in a cell and catch a few putazos or whatever. And when I got out of that hole and I went into another pod, keep in mind I told you these fools are in every fucking pod. So I walk in and I'm looking to see right off top who I see. You know, fools are playing pinochle, they're doing their thing. And I'm looking to see if there's any, you know, fellas or whatnot. So I put my bag down, you know, just by the bunk they told me to. And I start walking around the pod, just like, you know, I peel my shirt. I'm walking around the pod looking to see, you know, and I see some fools playing pinochle. I say, you guys, you know, belong to Dude's Club, you know? And they're like, oh, yeah. I said, check it out, man. I'm the one that put that fool down, dog. I'm like, we gonna have a problem? They're like, nah, dog. That fool's fucking burnt out, dog. He's got us all in here, you know? Like, they start... I'm like, oh man, these fools got no kind of structure. And you know,
that's what I've heard from like many stories, that it's completely different in other states.
Man, they threw that fool under the bus. Like,
let me ask you this: who did you have to become in order to survive that place?
So you know, it was it's not who you have to become. It's you have to become. You actually have to become like an owl, a hawk, or an eagle. Okay. In reference, those 3 animals will sit high in the sky alone. They'll watch everything. They see the smallest movement. And so, like, you pay attention to shit. You ask too many questions, fools are going to look at you like, who the fuck is this dude? And if you come in and you're doing your thing and you just respect everybody and treat everybody like a man, and they tell you don't get into debt, don't do this, don't do that, you know, all that stuff, it really counts. Yeah. Okay? What that fool get beat up for? A fucking old poker table, $900. What that fool get beat up for? He got caught stealing. What this fool get booked for? Okay, so my head, I got my check-off list. Like, things not to do, right? Yeah. And then when your number's called upon, right? You know, if something happens or you're in a situation, just like you're sitting there judging other people, oh, he should have took off on the homie. Okay, fools are going to talk like that about you too.
That's right.
Okay, so me, a fool come talk to me, I don't give them 2 seconds of their time. The minute they come up to me, I hear them, hey, you say this, there's no talking. Okay, element of surprise wins wars, hands the fuck down. So I'll catch a chin or two real quick and boom, you know, what's up, dog? Like, what were you saying? You know, you know, and so it cuts shit down.
Yeah, for sure.
And then you get a lot of like comadreando. Fools will come to me and be like, oh, you know, what's up with homeboy over there, man? I seen him take a shit this morning. He didn't wash his hands. He just walked right out.
You should have fucking told him then.
So I'm the dude, be like, hey, You know, you feel like that? Nah. Hey, come here, homie. What's up? Hey, dude got something he want to say to you, dog. You know what I mean?
That's me.
And I'll be like, hey, y'all take care now, right? And be like, check it out. He cares, I don't.
Yeah.
Okay? And I did that, again, back to psychological warfare. I did that because you're not going to come and say, well, homeboy said that too. He agreed too.
Yeah.
No, fuck
You
no,
said
I
that.
did not. Okay?
Yeah.
Don't come to me with your cheese, man.
Yeah.
When it's time to get busy, we're getting busy.
What part of you hardened?
Hardened? Emotions.
Yeah.
Emotions. Like, I'm a different person today, but I'm still cold. You know, and when I say cold, like, death doesn't bother me. The sight of somebody getting beat up, people are like, oh my God, stop. And me, I'm just like,
It is what it is.
I'm looking at it like, I remember those days, you know, it's, and emotionally, it's hard for me to let up on people. Even like in relationships, I'm cold.
Well,
I
15
shut
years
down.
is a long time.
You know, yeah.
Like 12,
So
you
12,
know?
it was 12.
What does prison do to a man's mind?
Well, I mean, it depends on how you want to look at it, right? It'll do a few things to you. If you have a hyena, that's a no-no, okay? Because you're just going to be stressed the fuck out on the phone. Who you with? Where you at? Why didn't I get a letter? How come this one didn't have perfume on it?
Damn.
You put money on my books. Like, I heard it all, okay? I heard it all.
Damn,
and I
man, you
used
put
to
perfume on
walk
like
by
Friday
and
fucking
see the
really
fellas
good.
right there be like, you know, all sad on a Friday night on their bunk,
'Cause they didn't
chilling.
get no
And I'll
letter.
be like, what's up, fool? I called her. She's going out tonight. I said, she ain't going out tonight, fool. She got her hands on the headboard, homie, and she's staring at the wall right now, fool. She's on her knees, homie.
That's
You already
messed
know
up.
what time it is. You know, or I'll walk by and fools will be laying there staring at the ceiling. I'm like, déjala bailar, homie. You know, it's sábado, way. You know,
Seriously.
but the thing is that the more it hurts, the quicker you go through it,
Yeah.
right? And so sometimes tough love, you know, like the camaraderie of just, you know, joking and clowning with each other, it helps.
Yeah.
And then you have fools that are worried about still trying to control the streets. Okay? And those fools, they're all up in the mix in there, and they're all up in the mix on the streets. Okay? And those dudes, I keep an eye on them. But, I mean, they're all friends, right?
Yeah.
But you watch. So when you ask that question, some dudes, it'll break them down mentally and make them realize that they're never meant to be there. Some dudes will be like, this shit is easy. I could do it anytime I have to. You know, like today, I have a lot going for myself. And I did that to myself, right? You know, it's I don't have rich parents. But I also won't hesitate to give it up if you came and tried to take it from me.
I understand what you're saying completely.
You get what I'm saying?
Of course, completely.
And so the thought, like, I know what it's like to do time. I did 12 years in a month, you know? I did shoot time. I did all that stuff, right? And I will tell you like this. It's easier to do time than it is to be out here.
I say that all the time.
And it goes hand in hand with it's easier to fail than it is to succeed.
Oh, for sure.
Okay? So, like, when I'm, you know, doing my time, I'm always analyzing people. And even today, I'm always analyzing people. I watch. Sometimes I'll give a little just to see how you took that little.
Yeah.
But I'm watching and I'm like, okay. And then people tell me, oh, well, you can't be thinking like that no more. You're not
You
in
have
there.
to. Humans are humans. Humans are humans.
You know? But you know, for sometimes, you know, when you're in there and you move around, you ask me what prisons I've been to, you know, Leavenworth, you know, and then you put in to get closer to home. What was it like? At the end of the tier, there was party. Fools are tattooing, having a blast. Fools are passing cups of Pruno around. My property shows up, my paperwork with me. Hey, man, homie, you know, I already know who I'm going to talk to, right? Bam, you know. So now you're just kind of like welcomed, right? And some people, I don't know why, but they look at your fucking, they oh, he's got his paperwork on him. He's all high power. You know, another Polino on the yard. Nah, motherfucker, you know, it's just nice to know who people are, right?
Of course.
So, but after I got into the flow of things, you know, I learned how to tattoo, you know, I learned how to do different things. And then I put in to come closer to home. And then I caught the Con Air, it came to the Oklahoma City, and then stopped at the holdover in Victorville, went to Terminal Island. I did some time there. Got myself in trouble, fucking kind of like slapped the guard a little bit, but didn't really slap him. It was just more of a confrontation. And like when I went to pick my hand up to hit him, he just stepped the wrong way and it happened type shit. You know what I
Your
mean?
face. Sure.
You know, like, whoa, he kept coming at me, you know?
Yeah,
He's putting
yeah.
his, you know, whoa, 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 pointing with his fingers. So,
What
you
is
know.
something that you experienced that still sits with you?
So obviously, you know, prison is no stranger to violence. So I'm not gonna sit here and tell you war stories.
Yeah.
Okay. But something that still sits with me today is that I watched I didn't watch him do it, but he killed himself in the cell across from me in the shoe. He hung himself. And he wasn't all there in the fucking head, right? The night before, he was in the door and he was just fucking, you know, going back and forth. And the orderly was like, hey, that fool's fucking burnt out. Fool, don't talk to that fool, you know? Like,
He's going through
he's
it.
like, yeah, stay away from that fool, da 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 da, you know? And so, dude slid a magazine under the door, like, you know how you fish. So I get the magazine. It was a National Geographic magazine with the time that had it was a kid with some really bright, clear blue eyes or something like that, like a, you know, African kid or something. It was just a scary look in a sense. And I looked at it and I put it up and he goes, "Tienes uno para mí, I got one for me." And I was like, I slid him back his magazine. And he goes, "No tienes uno?" I'm like, nah. He's like, "Hey, me voy a ahorcar." And I told him, fool, I don't give a fuck what you do, dog. Fucking, I put the little envelopes in the window and I went and laid on my fucking bed and I was chilling right there, just kicking it, you know. And then next thing you know, this is at night. We go to sleep and I wake up in the morning and I see this magazine under my door again. But I wake up because, you know, you got to wash your grill, you know, we're in the shoe. And the cop comes and he's like, he opens the bean slot and he puts the tray for food. Then he opens that dude's bean slot and he puts a tray of food in there. And then you grab your tray, they put the milks. But dude didn't grab his tray, so he didn't put the milks yet. And he's telling him, you know, fulano, chow. It's dark in the cell. They have the light outside. So the guy turns the light. I'm thinking, come on, you fucking basehead. Hurry up and get your chow, you know, because I'm trying to get my milk and come sit down. And when fool turns the light on, I see the dude hanging like it's bright fluorescent light. And through the window, I see the dude hanging on his bunk with his eyebrows shaved. He had his collar tucked in. His eyes were open and he was staring at the ceiling. And he wasn't a tall dude either because, you know, he barely made it over the window a little bit, you know, the door window.
That's why it was easier for him to hang, probably.
And then, the guard got all scared and he's like, "Code blue." And they're all, you know.
I mean, well, obviously.
They come running. Well, it didn't really affect me in a sense because I didn't know much about the guy. So right away, I got the chills. Then when they finally came and the nurses came, they opened the door all at the same time. And I seen the whole configuration, right? So, and I had seen, like I said,
of course,
I seen all kinds of shit
that
the normal vision
bro.
shouldn't see. But when I seen that, I got a little bit of chills, and I was just thinking, damn, that's fucked up. And I seen the nurse trying to give him CPR and whatnot, and then how they covered it and tried to clean it up, right? Bothers me because you could get lost in the system real fucking quick if they really wanted to bury you, you know? And they're making it seem like they did their rounds every 20 minutes. Like, fool, I see you once a day when it's child. What the fuck you mean you did, you know, your rounds? But who am I, right? You know, I'm just listening. And again, this is my information in my head so that I'm registering how to do time, right? I'm every day's a learning process. Later on, it turns out, here's the crazy part. Later on, it turns out 4 months later, some more fellas come into the shoe for
other things,
donkey bonking somebody, right? And, you know, these fools come in and they're screaming my name, you know, and I, what's up? Oh, woo. They put them right underneath me. So I'm talking to this fool on the vent, and then, you know, every 21 days, you know, you move cells, right? Mm-hmm. So we start communicating through the toilets, you know, pump out the toilet and start, you know, make your phone, your
out of your creamer,
T-Mobile with the creamer or the toilet paper rolls, you know what I'm saying? And back then we were allowed to get newspapers still. So, you know, we were using newspapers and stuff like that.
They're not as close.
And the homie's like, "Hey, fool," he's like, "hopefully they put us in yard together." He's like, "I got to tell you some crazy shit." So we go out to yard, and now we're all, you know, in the same, you know, it's two in a cage, right? But they put us together, and that fool's like, "Hey, fool, there's some paisa across from me. he just got here. I'm like, when? He's like, I don't know, like a week ago or so. He came off the bus and they put him in there because I guess they didn't know how to classify him, or I don't know, because that site was INS. That was at in Bakersfield, Taft. And I go, so what you tripping on him for? I go, he's a P-dog or what? He's like, yeah, fool. He goes, but trip out. He's like, I see that fool talking on the window at night, but there's nobody fucking standing there talking to him. So he's like, I finally asked him, who the fuck you talking to? And he tells me this dude, and he gives me this name. That's the name that was on the dude's card across from me that hung himself.
So he used to see
and
him.
This fool just got there a week ago, so he don't know who this dude is. Okay? Now, there's all kinds of fools in there that believe in Santeria, respectfully, you know, to each their own faith and stuff like that. Fools got their little shrine, but entre the P's, they're fucking sending little spirits on each other, and you could feel the negativity in there, right? So
There's no shrines to Santeria, it's probably Santa Muerte.
Well, Santa Muerte, there you go. You know the calavera stuff. Yeah,
Santa
right?
Muerte.
And so that's why I say respectfully, because I'm not, you know, these fools are on their own little mission. So anyways, the dude tells my homie tells me, well, this fool, I asked him what he's talking to this fool about, and he tells me, oh, to come outside this door, and that on this side, he's all, fool, this fool comes to the door every night with a bottle in his hand. That dude, the P, was telling my homie that, oh yeah, you know, homeboy comes to, he has huarachis, he has an orange jumpsuit, he doesn't have no eyebrows. I had chills. He's like, and he got huarachis, fool. He goes, where does he go when the guards come, fool? Like, you know, the homie's like clowning him, laughing at him. No, he's laughing at him. Like, at first he's laughing, like, nah, fool. So the homie's like tirándole rollo, but the dude's answering the questions like on a serious note. And he's one of the homies in the picture that I showed you, right? So this fool goes, he's like, gee, I'm laughing because he goes, like, it's the same fool he's describing every night. And he goes out to the psychologist and he tells her that he's seeing this dude. Well, the psychologist, for being in prison, she's kind of a little catch to look at, right? Mm-hmm. But, you know, like, you don't want to do no weird shit because you don't want to be, you know, weirdo. Be exactly. But to look and be like, damn, you know, I wouldn't let my wife work here if she looked like that, you know, type shit. He's going to the psychologist and she's just loading him up on Benadryl, you know, to go to sleep. So when the next time we go to rec, you know, they're moving us in cells and I don't have them on top, we go to rec and he tells me, hey, G, this fool told me he's going to go kick it with this fool tonight. And I was like, yeah. And I go, how? He goes, I don't know, fool. He goes, fool, this fool, every day I talk to him, he sounds más quemado. And I'm like, all right. Anyways, I start hearing all kinds of keys in the morning, running and boom, 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 and da-da-da-da, and, you know, cold blue and whatnot. Dude hung himself.
He made him hang himself.
He hung himself, okay? And I will tell you, I've heard stories. This is fucking dead-ass truth. Like,
so everybody that will go in that cell will hang themselves?
No, the dude across from me, his name card, okay? Nobody knew his name except for if you were on that tier and you see this dude, right? Fast forward, 4 months later, we get a bus coming in. This P gets off the bus and goes into the shoe, not to the yard. He don't even know somebody hung themselves up there because they fucking swept it under the rug. Like, you know,
so he's seeing the fool that hung himself.
He was trying to tell the lady that the fool that hung himself was walking the tier, and this is the voice or the person that he was seeing and talking to at night. And he described them to a science when he hit it with the no eyebrows, the tucked in collar, the huarachis, the sombrero, and the bottle of tequila. So she's thinking he's just fabricating this story to get out and talk to her. Because he's in the shoe, you know, he's locked down. Well, dude, the signs were there. Dude hung himself. So anyways, the negativity, the black energy inside there, it stuck with me forever.
Yeah.
And so when I hear the word suicide or I hear the word like hanging, you know, like I visualize it. It's kind of like, you know, it's in my
trauma.
head.
As I know you don't want to hear the trauma word, but in reality, that's what it is. We just don't want to use it.
Well, you know, and when I hear...
If it's stuck to you, that's just traumatizing, bro.
Right.
One form or another.
And it happens.
Yeah.
Okay? It happens.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you something. It sounds like both of them tried to talk to somebody and nobody paid attention to them.
Yeah.
Right? Now, you know, do I feel sorry for them? I don't know what the fuck they were going through. That's their problem, you know. Like, Spencer,
What can
right?
we do? Yeah.
Right. I got my own problems,
For
and
sure.
I ain't even gonna feel pity like that. But
Yeah.
but it stuck with me because it just how 1 minute you're here, 1 minute you're not. How quick shit could just happen. But anyways, that's probably
That's
the most
pretty intense. Yeah.
And then I've had a lot of good moments too. You
Yeah,
know?
well, I'm gonna ask you about those
All right.
moments. What was your daily routine like? Like, when did you get up? You made your coffee. Like, what was your day like?
So when you first get busted, you don't know how to do time, right? It's your first time. But you realize that everything's a system, it's a program, same time, same thing, you start to notice that you drink your coffee every day at the same time, you eat your oatmeal every day at the same time, you brush your teeth every day. Now your body has to take a shit every day at the same time. and if you don't hit it by that time, something's wrong with you, right? Or you ate something that didn't
You start paying attention to the reality of yourself.
Exactly. You're more in tune with yourself. So my routine, once I got onto the yard, my routine was simple. I went in a big boy. I was a little heavy set, marijuana. I was all eating good food out here and just living the life, drinking, having fun. So, I started doing push-ups, working out. I got in tune with my body. I could never really I could bench press 300 something pounds at the time playing football, but I couldn't give you a proper push-up. It's a different muscle.
Uh-huh.
And so, when I made it to the desert, right, where there were no weights, it turned into body workouts, like squatting, sandbags, pull-ups, dips. But my routine was just simple. Every day, get up, mind my own business, make my coffee, my oatmeal, brush my teeth, and, come back, make sure my soap dish is cleaned out, there's no foam in it, my locker's straightened out, my area's clean, no reason for the guards to come and trash the house. And, I would keep the locker so so tight and nice that they didn't even want to search my locker.
Oh, nice.
Okay, because I would go and tell them they had to put the shit back the way they found it. They search your locker, they leave shit all over the place.
Oh, yeah.
And that was like where I had a problem, right?
Yeah.
I would tell them, look, you're not the cop that put me here, okay? You're not a fucking cop to come damage my shit and go, I could do a locker search. Yeah, but you don't come disrespect me. I don't disrespect you. I don't disrespect your house. You don't know where I live. Look, homie, we're from the streets, okay? It ain't that hard to find you. You're public. So, tone it down. Go over there. Put my shit back the way you found it. I don't care if you search my shit. Go back over there and put it the way you found it, okay?
Yeah.
Plain and simple. And so, little by little, they're all right, and they get to know who you are. And next thing you know, they just don't even fuck with you. So, in a sense, my daily routine just became something like what they call club fed in a sense, right? You're doing time, shit's happening around here, but,
You're just chilling.
well, I'm doing...
Do what you're doing.
I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm working out. I'm getting healthy. When I'm bored, I go walk. I learned how to tattoo. I've always been a good cook, so I jumped into the kitchen voluntarily to get some hustles going.
What was your favorite spread?
My favorite spread by to today's date is, I have to say that it's gonna be the sushi bowl.
Nice.
It's gonna be the sushi bowl. The sushi bowl is just something like till this day I still make it.
Fire.
You know what I mean? What?
Maybe you can make one.
Maybe
we can make one here.
Absolutely.
One of these days. You're down? Okay.
Yeah, I'm down.
We'll do one on...
Do it on camera.
On camera. What is something funny that you still remember?
So, when your points drop, you can make it to a camp.
Okay.
Right? And in these camps, some of them have fences, some of them don't. Some of them are on a military base, usually an Air Force base or something like that. And they're next to the prisons, like the higher security prisons, right? So, in the lower security you go, the more shit you're gonna find, right? Contraband wise.
Yeah.
And so the first time, I know fools are watching these videos of spice and what they're doing to fools in the prisons and shit like that. So the first time that I seen somebody do spice, and it was crazy because I used to be a marijuana like crazy. So the thought of me getting some tree, I was like, man, I'm about to get high. Then I seen somebody hit it, and this fool's running through the dorm, one of the blacks. And he didn't even live in our dorm, but everybody knew who this black was. He's just one of them fools that was like a comedy guy. He walking around telling jokes. Fools just look at him and just laugh because he's always doing something funny, right? And this fool's running through the dorm like he has a horse, but he has the mop with the stick on it and the mop on it, and he has it back. And he's acting like he's running. He's like, somebody stole my horse. Yeehaw! Then he turns the corner and he throws the mop and he jumps under the homie's bunk. And he's under the bed and he's laying on the floor and he's got his hands and he just sounds like he's in La La Land. Like, have you ever heard the TikTok, the little baby saying like, like, you know what I'm saying? So this dude's making noises like that. And he's like, somebody stole my horse. And I'm thinking this shit is just dead outright funny because I was going to smoke that shit.
Oh, thank God.
Not with him, but it was on the yard, right?
Yeah.
And so I was thinking, damn, and the homie's like, yeah, fool, that's what that shit does, you know? And the homie who communicate with his nephew in the state, you know, using the so apparently that's the common effect for that shit, right?
That is crazy.
And then they took him to the office and they gave him a drug test and he passed and they didn't know what was going on because back then it was just starting to come around in the system. And then, you know, non-inmate related, like the funniest thing I seen was when you see somebody, you're walking the track and you see somebody coming in with 4 or 5 trash bags, like you're seeing a ghost coming from the ocean or something like that. Just some wave coming in and you're like, is that what I think it is? And then you start seeing a little smoke and you're like, what the fuck? And this fool's coming in with 4 or 5 trash. Hey, what's up, fool? Hey, you know, you want some Jack in the Box? And you're like, the fuck?
Dang.
Like, and that's when I realized, oh man, we about to do time my way type shit. You know what I mean? Like, that to me was funny because there's no offense.
You could go and come back.
Did this motherfucker really just go touch the free world and voluntarily come back?
Yeah.
And I was rolling, right? You know, to me, those little things is where I found humor. And I'm like, who in their right mind? And then it became me. And I found myself calling myself the pendejo for coming back.
No, but you knew what was right and what was wrong.
Right.
Did you,
you don't think you're going to get caught. That's
yeah.
why.
Did you have any pen pals?
I did. You know, I put up a site.
Oh, shit.
You could pay with money off your books or whatever. You know, that you get these flyers or whatnot. You know, so I put up. I paid like $60 and I got onto this pen pal website and I started getting like people from Georgia and Alabama. But you know, I'm picky. You know what I'm saying? I'm picky. You know, like I might be a big dude, but I still know what I can attract, right? And so I'm seeing pictures of these girls, and I'm like, man, this ain't for me, dog. Like I still got pride, you know. And the homie, you know, he's like, what's up, fool? Have you got any hits? And I'm like, nah. And he's all, I see you getting mail all of a sudden. Let me see. So this is
My cousin.
Mm-hmm. And he's like, let me see. So I show him, and he's like, hey, dog, you've been down a long time. He's like, fuck it. If they pay like they weigh, shoot it, you know? So I was like, oh, hell nah. This was like,
and he's hilarious.
Yes. So I'm like, what you mean? And he's like, look, let me tell you, Mil, you're going to do this. You're writer until
He
she's
has
the
a
most
voice.
beautiful thing that you ever seen. And yada, 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 and this and that. And, you know, and he's like, look, fool, these designers, they got feria, bro. He's like, you just got to get it from them, you know? And he's like, the bigger ones, they pay more. So I'm like, this fool's fucking funny, you know? I'm dying.
Oh, shit.
And so I start writing the letters back, and next thing you know, I'm getting the little receipts, you know, money put on the JPay, you know,
Oh,
da-da-da-da-da. And I'm like,
okay.
hey, fool, I got 60, you know, da-da-da. He's like, you better call her with that money, too. Don't be a dick, fool. And I'm like, bro.
Oh, that
like,
sounds just like him. Like, don't be a dick part.
yeah, so I'm like, all right, fuck it, you know, so I'm calling, but the money now I'm using it to buy like more commissary and we're eating, we're cooking. I'm like, hey, if I got one on the team, we're gonna grub together, you know, like, and you know he had his own money, right? But it felt good to contribute, you
For
know.
sure.
Fools are always looking out for it. You become real tight knit family.
You get really,
in there.
really close with people.
Yeah,
Who stayed loyal in your life?
Yeah.
No, who stayed loyal?
Oh, who stayed loyal? Well, you know, this is something that I would like to I would really like to elaborate on because, you know, when you get busted, you I I don't know, maybe today it's more common. Fools just like touch and go. They go in, they come out real fast. I don't know how the fuck fools do it, now, but people go in and out. So it's easier to stay in touch with people. But back then, I was always the light of the party out here. I had the money. I was, spending money. We're having fun. Fuck it. You're all with me. We're going to Cheesecake Factory. I'm paying $2,000-$3,000 for all of us to eat, whatever. And I had a lot of girls around me when I got busted. And girls that sit and roll weed and just kick it. And I enjoyed it. That's just what I enjoy women. So when I got busted, I was like, okay, I tried to get a hold of everybody. I told my brother, call people, let them know where I'm at, give them my address. I made it to the yard. So I started getting letters, and I remember getting, mail call. And I go to get a letter, and it's my mom. And I remember looking at the letter, and I was like, damn. I thought it would be somebody that I fucked with out here, okay? And 6 months, 7 months went by, a year went by, and I didn't get any letters from people that I thought I would, okay? And when I start calling them with my own money from the phone, and they're, oh, yeah, Rick, I got a boyfriend now, yada, yada, yada. I'm like, damn, you should at least get that fool for $20 and slide it on my books or something, right? I'm cool with that, And they're like, oh, no, Rick, he's a good dude, and da-da-da. And so, me, I don't like pity, So I just said, fuck it. I stopped calling people, You know where I'm at? I'm in one place, okay?
Yeah.
You know how to get a hold of me. And so throughout the years, religiously, it was my mom.
That's right.
And my mom would always tell me, not if, but when you get busted, all these little stupid hood rat bitches you got on your fucking team, none of them are going to be there. It's going to be me. I'm your mama,
It's true.
And so when you say who stayed down, who stayed loyal, like my mom, she followed me anywhere I went. And God bless her soul, because I'm a free man today, and I can't find 10 minutes to write somebody in prison. I don't even know how my mom stopped, from working and paying for her own bills in her own house to stop and come see me in another state, or on the weekends drive all the way up to where I was and make a day out of it, and her little proud face with her quarters, honey, I brought you some vending machine money, what do you want to eat, a cheeseburger? If she's not knowing, I work in the kitchen, and
they're eating way better.
We're spreading and whatnot, but to see her face. Until one day she came in and she asked me, I thought she was crying. I thought something happened to my family member, to my dad or something. And she was right there, and it was an unexpected visit, because I usually knew when she was coming. And she was crying, so I'm like, damn, something happened to my brother or my pops, or she's gonna give me some bad news. And she just asked me where she went wrong as a mother.
Aww.
And it hit me, because I'm a knucklehead. I'm not giving two flying fucks whose feelings I hurt. You know what I'm saying? And at that point, I'm still like a knucklehead. And she's just, she's crying. She's like, I can't sleep. I just have to get this answer. And I said, Mom, you taught me right from wrong. You made it a point for me to graduate high school. You told me the stove was hot. I turned the stove on and burned my own fingers. You told me not to stick my finger in the socket. I had to find out for myself. You did your job. I chose. And there's a little bit of maturity right here, at
You're
the
already
time.
growing within the years,
right?
Already.
Because I was like, Mom, I chose this. I'm a grown ass man. I wasn't wearing a fucking diaper. Okay, I could get up and go and drive myself to get food. I could hang out with friends. I could be with girls. I could be with homies. I'm out here doing dumb shit. I made that choice. Okay, I go, but to let you know that you did your job, I graduated high school. I got my diploma. You taught me right from wrong.
That's right.
And she's been at peace ever since,
good.
So anyways, but yeah, she's the most loyal rider on the team.
That's right. My mom's always been the same way. Always, never left me. Did you feel real love inside? Here and there?
I look, there was somebody who wrote to me for a while, but I know better than to get attached when you're in the system. I'm a realist, the homie that's sitting right here with us, shout out to him. He hears a lot of the way I think, because I think out loud a lot, And I'm the first person to tell the girl that I'm talking to, I ain't gonna be one of these dummies in here don't be talking to no dudes. Look, I get a letter from you with some perfume on it.
Cool.
I'm happy. You know, you answer the phone when I call you, I'm happy. Okay? And those little things mean a lot to somebody on their worst day. Because when you least expect it, you get that letter, you're like, damn. Or when you feel down or aguitado and you pick the phone up and call and they answer and they give you 15 minutes of their time. I can't give somebody a 15-minute phone call today, like, to save my life, even if you weren't in prison. It doesn't work like that for me, you know? My mind's
Everywhere.
everywhere. So I knew better than to catch feelings and fall in love. But what I will tell you is that you learn how to value a true friendship because there's no sexual contact between you two. So you're writing letters, you're talking, you're being intimate in a letter in a different way. And it helps you appreciate someone. And even now today, like I said, to think back, okay, throughout the years, hit and miss, I would have one write to me 2 or 3 months, fall off, find a man, fall off, don't hear from him again. But to find the rare one that does write to you and whatnot and stuff like that, you develop a certain type of feeling for that person, but you have to check yourself because you understand that she's in the real world and she has needs. So if you catch feelings, you're fucked. You're going to be hurt. And if you just learn to be mature and say, I appreciate that letter, you know, then you just kind of travel along, you know?
I understand completely what you're saying. So obviously we're on Indicted TV, right?
Right.
And I always ask, what is the craziest thing you ever experienced or whatever? It doesn't necessarily mean violent or whatever, but whatever was the craziest, and did it change you?
So I'm going to give just one experience. And this isn't to glorify, but take this as a lesson or a warning before you even, if you're watching this.
And that's the purpose of Indicted TV.
Right. If you're watching this and you're even thinking of fucking up and going to prison, okay, nobody likes a thief. Okay? Nobody likes a fucking thief. And so there was a dude in there that he was celled up with a different race, and that race is cool with our peeps, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So, you know, the homies are like, hey, you know, can this dude cell up with you, you know, till we get him on a bunk, whatnot. Yeah, so this dude comes around, and he starts talking real wild, and he's throwing crazy names out there, you know what I'm saying? And I'm so-and-so's son, and yada, yada, yada. And so fools are looking at this fool like, whoa. Well, fools are just watching him move already.
Because of how big his mouth is.
And then the native dude comes and says, hey guys, my chain's missing. We're like, what? He's like, bro, dude had 25 years for a homicide on a native reservation, mm-hmm. right? And he says, I've never had a problem with my chain being missing from my area. He goes, until dude came. He goes, and I don't want to assume.
But I mean, obviously.
I don't think he's gotten any money yet. And this fool's at the store, man, every day. And he's eating all kinds of shit. He's in the TV room eating Twinkies and Ho-Hos and nutty bars and sodas and cookies and whatnot, you know? And so I'm tattooing, and some dude comes over to the dude I'm tattooing on, and he tells him, hey, bro, so-and-so just tried to sell me a chain right now.
Oh.
Now, we had already put the word out. We had already asked this fool.
Did you take it?
He said, fuck would I touch that fool shit for? Oh, I'm so-and-so, you know, I don't need to touch nobody's shit. Yeah. So little by little, fools are going and they're putting the teams together to investigate what he's doing. And it turns out that he had only been there a month and a half, 2 months. And he already owed like over $2,000 on the store guys, different stores, maxed out.
And by saying who his son is or whatever.
Well, no, I mean, he got there trying to like impress people, you know.
Okay.
But somebody told him to tone that shit down because they showed him that was their crimey, the guy he was referring to.
Oh, wow.
So he was like, hey, I am gonna get a hold of this guy and find out who you are, right? So right after that, it was all like, okay, but he still had a little, he's still trying to be hard. Anyways, when the dude comes and tells us about the chain, we're already knowing about
The situation.
how much he owes the store guys. So now we're getting at dudes from his area and, hey, dog, like he owes, we got to take care of that regardless what happens to this fool, we're going to have to come out of pocket and make it right with these dudes and whatnot. But so anyways, the homie that I was tatting on set it up and said, all right, we're going to get that chain. Once we have that chain, that dude's done. And sure enough, he thought he was trusting another race that we really don't click with this cell, but the whole yard knew about it because all the head guys were talking to each other and letting fools know to keep an eye out for this chain. So fools started to think that maybe it got snuck out in a visit and sent out to the streets to get some money, right? That would have been like the smart thing to do if you were gonna steal something, Dude went around trying to sell it. So when they finally got hands on the chain, dude is a chubby boy, and food is his weakness. So, we told him, hey, man, after chow, bring your bowl and come downstairs. We're all going to have a little, we're not even going to eat, it's liver night or whatever the fuck it was, right? And, damn. And, we go into the chow hall room and fools are in there clowning. We got the music going, little speakers that you make with the chili bottles or, with your earphones or the TV speakers just in there partying, whatever. And this fool comes in. Well, this dude had tried to like low key throw some smoke on another homie. And that homie like was able to prove that he wasn't, this dude was just cagapalo.
For sure.
So when he found out that this was about to take place, this special meal, he's like, yo, let me get it first, please. And it's funny because like the TV rooms, there's plastic chairs. They were all stacked up against the wall. To me, that would have been
like pay attention, see.
Right, but he comes in, what's up? Big old lokes on, and he got his bowl.
Happy.
And we got a bowl of, we got a big bag of shredded paper, looking like spread. So we're like, dig in. It just went bad for that dude. The homie that wanted that piece of action, he got it. And then you see fools climbing up on the chair, and they're coming off the chairs with the, the BOP boots.
The black hard ones.
Yeah. So fools are coming off. They're clack, clack, you know what I'm saying? And when I tell you he came in and made an enemy, like out of almost everybody in that
his behavior.
In that yard,
or his
everybody.
Energy.
I mean, look, that fool was damn near dead. Okay? And fools were like that outside. What happened? Oh, in the unit, fool, I want a piece of that too. So fools are running in like, because they didn't like him. Yeah. Everybody wanted a piece of the pie.
So you have to carry yourself correctly.
So, long story short, dude, from like up here all the way down across his face, then Boots peeled his skin back. And there was I don't know, one of the guards was telling them, one of the homies that works in the trash department, like, bro, when they were cleaning that up, they found all his teeth and the blood and shit like that, right? So he got a medevac flight. They air flighted him out. And how the fuck this dude survived, I have no idea. But I got to tell you, there wasn't a single weapon used. It was all hands and feet.
Wow.
Okay? Nobody came in with, it was just, and that dude got done that bad. And when I tell you that this lasted at least 17 minutes before anybody even knew what the fuck was happening, because these TV rooms where everyone's in chow, and these TV rooms are at the end of the unit. And when you see a bunch of fellas, you kind of really don't even go that way. You get what I'm saying? It's none of your fucking business. You don't want to be caught down there. And so, it was just a big old party, and when they locked it down, for that, the helicopter came, took them, and fools were just, nobody gave a fuck. And later on, the dude, when you see him leaving, his face, it looked like he was expired.
Wow.
He was, they had him on the bed, and like,
Yeah.
that they don't just rush you out of the prison
For no reason.
well, without certain restraints.
That's what I'm saying.
They knew that fool wasn't going anywhere, right? They thought they were losing him too. Well, it turns out later on, he recovers by whatever energy he has protecting him. he has this, he goes to a hole somewhere else, and he starts talking bad about the homie that I tattooed on. That was the homie that had, was making decisions around there.
Yeah.
So he starts talking bad on the homie, and it turns out that he's talking
To his cramy.
No, he's talking to somebody with some authority, and they already knew who that dude was.
Dang.
So, anyways, the side of the most like that to me was the most bloodiest, like, on one person. You see shit, like I said,
Yeah.
big riots, whatever, fools getting beat up, all day long, something happens. But like to actually walk away, stepping, and you have footprints of blood, like everybody, and you see them going up the stairs, out the unit, to other TV rooms, it's just blood trail everywhere. And this was getting dragged, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It was but hey, like,
It happens, and sometimes not even sometimes people put themselves in situations, and it's just what it is.
thievery.
Yeah, it's just what it is.
It'll happen to anybody, not just one particular section. Like,
if you're a thief, you're a thief.
Yes. So
What is something that hurt you while you were inside? Like hurt you the most while you were inside?
So I was in the unit cooking sushi bowls with the other homie who has the same last name as me. And I seen the chaplain coming down the hallway. And we're the only fools in the unit. And he comes down to our area, to the cell, and he's like, such and such. And we look at each other, and we're like, which one? And he looks down, and he's like, da-da-da. And I was like, that would be me. And he's like, hey, man, you got a moment? Can I talk to you? And I go, oh, you're the angel of death, huh? I go, you're here to deliver bad news? I go, talk to me. What's going on? He's like, you want to go to my office? I'm like, there's no need for that shit. I go, the homie's right here. Talk to me in front of the homie. And he tells me that my dad got into an accident on the 210 freeway, and it was on the news. He blacked out from diabetes, went under a truck and flipped.
Oh, wow.
And he was coming to tell me that they were going to give me a phone call to say goodbye to my dad. That he was in the hospital with a intubator, and so he was going to let me talk. And I called my brother, and my brother's like, fool, it is what it is. Pops, he loves us, and yada, yada, yada. Well, then, I go and I'm put the phone to his ear and talking to him, and, Pops, I love you, and yada, 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 thinking that I lost him, and they were going to pull all the stuff out of him. Well, fucking, after I talked to him, you're in there. You don't have too much. It's not like fools can call you back or nothing,
Yeah.
right? And at the time, cell phones weren't really yet, like, populated. It was like a rare thing if you saw one in on the yard. So, I'm chilling, and I'm not getting no answers. I'm calling home. Nobody's answering, nothing, da-da-da-da-da. And then my mom comes to visit on Sunday and tells me my dad's like nothing happened. He's just missing the teeth.
Oh, thank God.
And he was alive. Like, they were going to pull the plug, but he
Came back.
Yeah, like, just
Oh,
some crazy
wow.
shit. So in my head, I lost him.
And that hurt the
And
most.
it did,
for sure.
but that began the separation process. Like, I knew, okay, this fool's still alive, but I felt like he died. And so I distanced myself from him while I was incarcerated, because
Little
I
by
said, damn,
little.
if he does. And when I came home, it's weird. Like, your mom and dad tell you, portate bien. You're like, yeah, ma. Like, I don't feel that no more. I don't feel that I know that's my mom and I love her to death, but I don't feel the parentness because of the way I experienced thinking I lost him, and then he's there, and I'm like, damn. So when he passed away a few years ago, I thought I was prepared to deal with it. And, for the most part, I took it on the chin like a champ. But, I have my moments. And it feels like he died twice.
Oh, that's
because
hard.
I thought I lost him in prison.
Yeah.
And so the fellas were like, damn, homie, sorry to hear that, this and that. And then, boom, this fool pops up one day and visit. after recovering and whatnot, to come see me for the first time, and fools are like, damn, fool.
Like your dad, yeah.
But it was on the news. So, they had taken him in as in critical condition. So,
Wow.
yeah, that hurt.
So, okay, so 12 years and a month passed, right? Tell me about your first day out and what you ate.
So, my first day out was kind of wild because I got clemency from President Obama and I got immediate release.
Oh.
I didn't think that I was coming home. I had already lost the gang a good time. Like, I just...
You thought you were going to do your whole 15 or more.
Or more, right? And it was just like they called me to the office. 2 weeks before that, we had just got off on some fools, and some shit happened on the yard where we had to get rid of a certain characters or whatever. So in those 2 weeks, SIS was coming and they were taking homies and we're going to put you in the shoe. They were threatening us because they didn't know who did what, who made the call. They were just trying to fuck with us. And, we're going to ship you out. All the ones that get visits, we're going to send you to Texas and get whatever. And in those 2 weeks, then one day I'm out at my job where I have to work, and the counselor clerk inmate comes and he's like, yo, they want you, in control. And I'm like, for what? And they're like, he goes, well, they just took so-and-so and so-and-so to the hole. And that's one of the dudes that I was in, the one that got off in the shoe earlier. And shout out to that homie too, but they took him and the other homie to the shoe, thinking that those were the ones that ordered
the stuff.
The
the removal.
mini removal riot or whatever it was. And he's like, so I think you're gone next, fool, because those were my perritos, we were just always together. And you see us, it's just, we're up to no good, And then next thing you know, I walk in there and the warden, the counselor, the case manager, unit manager, SIS, they're all in there. And they're, with their hands like this. The fool from SIS, he's standing there looking at me all dumb with his arms crossed and his little military haircut. And he's just looking at me like, and I'm like, so they're like, yo, you got your ID? I'm like, yeah. Let me see your ID. So I give him the ID and I got, somebody with me, right? Take a shadow with you. And they're like, what's he doing here? And I'm like, I've been here 12 years. I ain't never talked to you guys alone. We're not going to start doing that shit now, Oh, well, he can hear what we have to say. Sit down. So they tell him to sit down. He sits down. They tell me to sit down. I'm like, I ain't sitting down. I'm like, what you got to tell me? Sit down. We're going to talk to you. I said, I don't want to, I'm not sitting down. Say what you got to say. And I'm not going to lie, because it was in December and I had a water bottle like this with Patron Silver in it. So I was buzzing already. It's supposed to be a skeleton crew in December, if you know better, It's government. These fools all go on vacation and take their paid time off. So it's only supposed to be like
a certain amount of
right,
workers,
So I'm thinking like, damn, it's heavily packed for this shit, But I'm buzzed. I'm not trying to go talk to him in person, but I'm already like, I'm going to the hole, so who gives a fuck? And he's like, state your name and number. So I state my name and number. They're like, we have to read you an email verbatim. And I was like, damn, is my mom okay? Is my dad okay? Now keep in mind, this is 12 years and a month already. And they're like, no, everything's fine. And I was like, all right. I go, what's up? And per order of the President of the United States of America at 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, your charges, on this day you were indicted on these charges, is that correct? Yeah, you were sentenced to this much time. Is that correct? And I'm thinking, fuck, man, everything I ever got away with probably just now about to catch up to me. I'm thinking I'm getting like a superseding indictment. I'm being re-indicted. You hear stories like that all the time, So I'm like, fuck, man. And I'm like, yeah. I go, that's me. And they're like, well, 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, and it was 9 o'clock our time. So that was 3 hours ago. Per order of the President of the United States of America, Barack Obama, the officer of clemency, and yada-da-da-da. You've been granted clemency on the charges, and dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun. And everything went fucking Chinese to me after that. All I heard was, wah, 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 wah. And I was like,
what?
He goes, you have any questions? And I was like, what the fuck did you guys just say to me? And I had this in my back pocket, right? Keep in mind, I was just in my back pocket, you know, and I was just like, what'd you say? He goes, and so the SIS guy, he's like, oh, you got the golden ticket. He's like, you heard what the fuck we just said? Like, and he's cussing in front of the warden, and, you know, they're looking at him like, why are you so mad, you know? And he's like, you're lucky. You were next on my list. Oh, I just took your homies. Oh, and I said, why are you even talking to me? You know, and he just looks at me and he goes, oh, you a smart ass? So I could revoke that. I said, that's an order from the president. I go, you can't take shit from me. I go, fuck you. I go, and anything you're saying. And he's like, oh, all right, tough guy. He's like, you come back. And when he said, if you come back, it hit me that I was going home for reals. He's like, ain't gonna be no bottom bunk for you. You ain't gonna have your homeboys, you know, ooh, I'm gonna make sure you buried so far in Raybrook, New York, and whoop, and God knows what. And I looked at the case manager and I said, so really quick, I go, what does this really mean? And they're like, well, you have 20 minutes to pack your shit. And we just finished telling somebody else. And it turned out to be another homie, right? Older homie, though. You know, he's on the older homie. And it turned out, and they're like, we just got done talking to somebody else. They're like, the 2 of you today, and 17 people got released immediately today from President Obama. So you got 20 minutes. And I'm like, to do what? They're like, get your shit, come to the front. So I go out, and the homies are, hey, fool, you know, you're on court links, fool. You know, the breaking news is coming out already, you know, of the stuff and whatnot. And people are telling me that shit. And, you know, and I got a lot of contraband, right? So the homies are like, hey, fool, let me get this, let me get that. You know, creatine powder, protein, all that shit, you know, the horns, tobacco, you know. And I'm just like, fool, everything's right there, fool. It's all you guys.
I'm out of here.
Homies are fighting for my mattress because I had a nice mattress. They're asking for the pillow. I grabbed my paperwork. I grabbed the clothes that I had on me, and I left everything behind. Must have left like $6,000-$7,000 worth of meats behind because I ran a sports ticket.
Okay.
I left all kinds of shit behind. I said, man, if these fools are fucking with me and I come back, I want all my shit. And then they take me over. I get up to the front, and then they take me over to R&D one last time in handcuffs. And I'm thinking I'm gonna wear my grays out. I'm in yard sweats, and they gave me some funky ass pants, told me I had to put on or whatnot, and a shirt, and they drove me over to an inmate from the camp drove me over to a bus station in Santa Maria, and he starts telling me, hey man, can I get your money? I was like, bro, you can have it. It was $60 for a bus ticket. And I asked some lady for a cell phone right there, and I called a homie. You know, he's a firefighter. He was actually supposed to, when I say supposed to, he wasn't supposed to get busted with me, but he was going to be with me, and I left him because he slept in. So if I would have waited for him and he would have went on that trip, he would have been busted with me too. But this fool seen that, and like months later, after we got busted, he applied to be a firefighter, and he just went all the way through, you know, federal firefighter. So when I called him and told him, hey, come get me at the bus stop, fool, he's like, fool, did you escape? And I was like, nah, dog. I just got clemency. And he goes, what the fuck is that, dog? And I go, fool, quit asking questions. I'm at this Greyhound bus station. Homie, come get me, fool. And he's like, oh, yeah, I'm stationed right. You know, he's up there. And so he comes and he picks me up. And he sees me, gives me a hug. And, you know, I'm still feeling like they made a mistake. How the fuck am I free? Like an hour ago, I was sitting in there staring at this fool trying to be a, you know, hard ass with me and trying to intimidate me. And I'm driving home right now. Like, this doesn't make no sense. And I'm supposed to be on a Greyhound bus, right? You know, because they have an itinerary. They're trying to send me to a halfway house. Well, they didn't try, they did. They sent me to a halfway house for 4 months. To finish the, what do you call it?
The rest of your time.
Whatever it was, you know, because it was halfway house time, so it was immediate release to the halfway house. And we stopped in Montecito, and this dude buys me a hamburger and a soup that cost $100 just because of where we were eating. And I'm sitting there eating, and I still, you know, like, I took the clothes off that they gave me, and I jumped back into my gray sweats. And,
at least.
You know, to my basketball shorts and my gray shirt. I had a gray beanie. And I'll send you that picture. And then we're sitting there eating, And I'm talking to him, and he's talking to me, and he's like, bro, what was it like? You know, and he's asking all 1,000,001 questions. And I'm talking to him real low, and he goes, hey, dog, why are you whispering for? And I'm like, homie, we don't talk loud at the table when we're eating food. We sit down, we eat. You know, you put one hand down because the home someone's next to you. You eat one hand, so I'm eating my soup like that, and he noticed it, and he goes, hey, you don't have to whisper, bro. We're free. And it took me a minute, you know? So now we're driving home, and have you ate at Jersey Mike's? Oh, what the fuck is Jersey Mike's? You know, it's like, oh, it's a sandwich place. So we get down to North Hollywood, and we go to Jersey Mike's, we eat, and then before that, he called my mom. Nobody knew that I was home. And he called my mom, and he told my mom, hey, are you home? She's like, yeah. He's like, I want to stop by and give you some money to put on his books. And so this was like in December, you know, and she's like, yeah. She goes, oh, he'll love that. It's Christmas time. They get a special menu. They get to buy on commissary and, you know, whatnot. So I'm sure he'll appreciate that somebody thought of him and sent him some money. And I'm listening. So when we get to her place, you know, in Sylmar, we go and knock on her door, and she's not answering the door. What's a condo? And then behind her door downstairs is the garage. Like, you come out and you go to the garage, you know, it's separate. And so that's where she was doing her laundry or whatnot. So I run down the stairs and I hide behind the door. And she comes out the door and she's talking to him and yeah. And, you know, oh, honey, I'm sure, thank you. He'll appreciate it. I've been taking care of him all these years, you know. I send what little I can, and then he sends me a bunch of money home from prison, and I don't understand what the fuck he's doing in there. And then as she walked out the door, I hugged her from behind, and I definitely gave her a heart attack. You know, who's honey? Who is this? She oh my God, and you know and then my pops, right? I have those videos on my phone when my pops came home. I was inside, and he comes opening the door, and he looks, and he just thought, you know. Fool's all yayed out, coming
Still.
in. Yeah, till the day he fucking died.
Oh,
and
I
this
picture it over here crying.
this fool, no, but you know, the crazy part is that, like, when he came in, it's like the look on his face was just like, psh, like wiped off. And he's just looking at me, and he's like, and he, you know, he's trying to, like, he knew, but he was trying to comprehend, because me and my brother kind of look alike, you know? And he's just looking, and he's... Bam. And then, you know, it was just, I got to spend some time with them. And then the homie, you know, that's when he took me after that.
You had to go to the halfway house.
He took me to the Jersey Mike's. And I ate Jersey Mike's. And I was just like, damn. And when I got to the halfway house, you know, I didn't know what to expect, because there's a lot of fools there that are from different areas. Or in prison, you know, you're one. But on the streets, it's back to, you're from where you're from. And you know, we funkin' unless you're cool or something. So when I get to this halfway house, I pull up and I look, and it's co-ed. And there's a gang of people in the lobby, and I see a bunch of knuckleheads, like, just, you know, but it's the same people we're in prison with.
Yeah, because it's in the feds. It's only feds for the halfway house.
Though,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
I walk in, what's up, fool? I'm like, hell yeah, what's cracking? And they're like, oh, come on, Kaiga. And I'm thinking, like, damn, you know, I thought it was going to be different. And it's still kind of, you know, the camaraderie, you know, and these fools, hey, we got pizza right here. And I'm thinking, fuck yeah, I'm loving life. Our rutina, what? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So for the little time, you know, I got there that day. That was my first day out. And you know, I had some real food, some pizza. The welcoming, it was kind of the same. And I still didn't feel that I was free. I was waiting for them to come gaffle me up and tell, we made a mistake. But it was immediate release.
That's crazy. And how long have you been out for?
I've been out 10 years now.
Thank God. So all of these years, right? What would you say was the hardest thing to adjust to?
You know, I think it has to be the respect and, you know, something that I like to emphasize. I can't knock nobody for who they are and where you grew up and how you become. But I've been sitting here this whole interview and not once have I used the N-word.
No,
Okay?
definitely not.
And the hardest thing for me is to come home and hear somebody call me that. Like, homie, we just in here, you got dudes doing life behind that word. You got dudes in the shoe indefinite shoe terms behind that word and behind that race. And you gonna come up to me and use that word in a sentence and then ask me where you from? Foo or essay and then you gonna turn around and use that word on me. That was the hardest thing for me to accept because
Got it.
you got, like I said, you got real good, solid, older homies, younger homies, camaradas that are doing life behind that belief structure. And then I come home and fools are like, hey, what's up? And I'm like, hold on a second, bro. What the fuck did you just call me? Oh, it's like saying fool. It's like nobody says fool no more. Nobody says dog. Now everybody says this. And it's like, nah, homie. Don't talk to me like that, And that's where I realized that it's a new generation.
Yeah, we're the older ones now.
Haircuts, clothes, and it don't mean that they're not with the fucking business, because these fools right now are fucking wilding out, right? And shout out to everybody and
Yeah.
whatever your play is. But the hardest thing to accept was
For
that
yourself.
I come home and now my homies are talking like that, right? Or my people, my friends, the people, and it's a common thing, and so you kind of have to accept it. Don't mean you have to talk like that, but you kind of have to know, like, okay,
it is what it is, kind of.
They're not referencing to me as
Like that.
the word itself. It's a feel word, right? And so I went to prison on like Tupac, Little Rob, G Unit, the 50 Cent Get Rich or Die Trying album, stuff like that. The Game.
What year was it?
2005.
Okay, I went in 2008.
So, the music. I come home today and I hear rappers using this word in every other sentence. And I got to ask myself, right? You call yourself an
Not
artist.
all rappers.
No. And that's what I'm saying, right? Not all of them. And that's why I say, like, everybody's different. But can you rap without using that word? If you're a person that uses that word, what will your rap sound like or your music sound like if you couldn't use that or if it didn't exist?
Yeah.
Okay, because I feel like it's just too easy to use to get a sentence accomplished. And so, again, my beliefs, I'm old school. I was raised by raza, the brochas, the slick back hair with the pomades, those are my OGs, you know what I'm saying? So to come home and just hear a whole different generation.
Yeah.
And social media, like even this interview, cameras, stuff like that, like I still get a trip on how people thrive on attention, right? But then they want to say someone telling on them. Oh, somebody's telling on me. Fool, you on Instagram acting a fool, bro.
Most people, now these days, you can't really get away with anything because of yourself. Like of yourself. Like a lot of people, it's like, why do you do that? Why do you do what you do, Negra?
Yeah.
I do it so that you could know what you're gonna get yourself into when you reach that place, that that one little thing, or just for us, like there's so many people, moms that are like, hey, thank you, because of you now I understand what my son is going through. Because of you, I'm able to get over this and that. Because of you, I've been doing it for 4 years. Because of you, like you could never picture yourself probably even sharing your experience of your life. This has nothing to do with gangs.
Yeah.
This has nothing to do with anything but your personal life story.
Right.
What you went through, what you're still going through, and what you learned from. You've been out for 10 years. Where are you at now?
So, with that being said, coming home and not having a game plan, just, I didn't get to do the whole re-entry programs, because of my 2 years to the door type shit. Like, I didn't make it to that point. It was just...
I feel like it's so much better when you don't have a plan.
Well, yeah. So, I do remember being at the halfway house, and rest in peace, my bunkie, man. That dude was cool. He was an out-of-state kid, but he was cool. And he got me hired at this entertainment company in Van Nuys. And I was on the dock loading a truck up, and I seen a truck driver pull in. And I said, damn, homeboy ain't doing nothing. He's on his phone, smoking a cigarette. And all the fools that got off the truck are loading and doing the shit. So I said, hey, boss, can I ask you a question? He's like, yeah. I said, What's up with you? You know, like, you don't have to do what they do. He goes, I'm the driver. He's like, you know, we're Teamsters, $3.99. He goes, I don't have to do shit. I just have to get the truck there safely. Those are the hand crew. And I was like, what do you got to get? He goes, you got to have a Class A license and you got to know somebody. He goes, it's real hard to get into this. And I was like, okay. So I seen it and I set my heart out. I said, you know, fuck that. I'm going to go I was making $14 an hour, but I humbled myself because I needed a job. And, and I know that my mom needed my help. And so I went and I talked to my cousin, and I told my cousin that I wanted to get into trucking, and he was like, oh, okay. He goes, I'm in the union. You want to get in the union? I'll get you in the union. He goes, you know, this is the life. It's the way to be. It's like, you know what? It's not what I want. I think I want to drive trucks. And so he came with me. We went to the trucking school together, and shout out to him because he's the one who took care of that tab for me. You know what I'm saying? And today I know about Department of Rehabilitation and how to use it, right? So I go through the trucking school, and I remember telling the clerk, you know, she asked me, what do you plan to accomplish, by coming to the trucking school? And, you know, I'm still a clown, right? So I like to troll people sometimes, and I say, you know something? I said, I'm going to start a trucking company, and I'm going to come back here to your job fairs, and I'm going to hire your students too. Oh, ha, 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 you're so funny. You know how many people come through here and say that to us? She goes, but it's good to dream big, you know? And a little paisa voice, right? So I'm like, all right. And you know what? In my head, I was thinking, fuck this bitch. Like, I'm going to do it. And so we went through the school, first try. I get my license, and I'm going to the job that I'm working at while I'm going to trucking school. And so fools are like, hey, you're really going to a trucking school? I'm like, yeah. Oh, you're going to be a super troquero, huh, fool? Whoa, 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 you know, all right, you're going to be one of those fast, smelly truckers? And I was like, you know what, dog? I go, I'm better in my life. And when I was in prison, I did set myself up. You know, I was a barber. I was a cook. I tattoo, you know. So I have a lot of skills that if one avenue failed, another one would work for me, right? I could come home and do anything, be a cook, be a barber, go work in the tattoo shops, you know. I know
options.
I know construction. I know how to operate heavy equipment like tractors and stuff like that. So I remember telling them dudes, hey, bro, they're paying us $14 an hour. Oh, well, at the end of the year, you know, so-and-so, the boss said he'll give me a 75-cent raise, fool. So I'm looking at $14.75. And I had already did my homework on the truck driver. That fool was making $21 an hour at the time. The man. Yeah, at that time, right? He was making $21 an hour regular and overtime going into 40-something. I don't know how he was telling me, but I'm thinking like that you're giving yourself a raise, my G. And so I go and I get the trucking license, and I learned the business. Eight months later, my partner and I, we bought our first truck, used. And I remember one of the homies told me, like, he came home and he's like, yo, I heard you're in trucking. I'm like, yeah. He's like, if I get my license, will you give me a job? I'm like, yeah. He goes, you know, I'm going to hit this department of rehab real quick and get them to pay for it. And I was like, yeah, I'll give you a job. But, like, really, you know, I just kind of said it, you know, like motivation. I was happy to see a homie come home. And that fool, I seen his Facebook post and he had the license. And I was thinking, fuck, I got to go get a truck, you know. And I went to Fontana and I found a truck for $35,000 used. They wanted 10% down. I put $3,300 down on it, and they gave me the truck. And, you know, my partner was like, what are we going to do? So the people that were giving us freight, I told them, hey, I got another truck and I got a driver. Oh, yeah, perfect. You know, they loved us because we were taking all the work nobody wanted. Okay, like I went over there and I said, hey, I ain't asking to get in anybody's way. I ain't trying to step on nobody's toes. We'll take whatever nobody wants. And that's how I built the company that we have today, right? And so then they gave that dude a line, and I started to see the money, and I was like, this is scary because I only made money like this
while doing bad
other stuff. And I'm like, this is just way too fucking easy. So I started, you know, like, you want to do something, you want to be the best at what you do, you just gotta like know what you're doing really. You're podcasting, you know this business really well, right? You gotta be the best you gotta be. So next thing you know, it was the other homie. Hey, what's up, fool? I see you got the homie working with you, fool. Hey, you know, I'm driving this dump truck right now, fool. It's not making it. And I'm like, bro, go ahead and get your license. Well, how, fool? I'm like, look. So now I'm going to the Department of Rehab using calling Department of Rehab, and they're going and they're getting tell them this, and they're getting their licenses. And then I put him in the truck with the homie. And so all three of us had done time together on the same yard.
Fire.
And so I've always been the person that, like, if the light's on me and people are looking up to me, how can I take that attention and give it to somebody else? Okay, God bless me. And I'm not a religious man. I'm a God-fearing man, but I'm not religious. And as God blessed me with a gift, and people are coming to me for help. Mm-hmm. And I know who these people are. They're not just lightweights, So they're like, I think that was my calling. And I said, you know what, dog? Like, I put him in a truck. Now I'm seeing more money. And this company that I'm pulling for, they're like, you wouldn't have to have more trucks, would you? And I was like, you know what? I went back to the trucking school. And I told the lady, hey, remember you told me? I said, I need to be at your job fair. I'm hiring. I need drivers. Oh, are you serious? Are you joking with me? I said, I'm serious. And I put my first truck there at the yard and their job fair, and people were coming to me, and I told the lady, look, I specialize in hiring convicted felons.
There you go.
And she goes, aren't you scared? And I said, let me tell you something. I know who these people are. The problem that we have is that when we do time, we come home, they just kick us out. And they don't give us a formula to nothing. They expect us to know better. They expect us to think, oh, you did time, you learned. Fuck no. We learn how to survive.
Yeah, we don't learn it.
We learn how to be gladiators. We learn how to be warriors in there. You understand what I'm saying? So, like, ain't nobody in there teaching you now. There's self-help programs, and you can sign up for school
if that's what
you
choose.
want to. Okay, but there's fools that'll sit there all day and just play, handball and pinochle, softball, and just enjoy their bid. So, for me, I said, you know what? If people are going to come to me looking for help, I'm going to turn this into helping. I'm going to pave a way for people like us so that when they come home, it's just easy to follow. And so now, today, today, I go to halfway houses. I go to group homes, and I talk to people, and I get the veteranos sitting there with the brochas, and I get the youngsters, and I come talk to them. So when I talk to them, the first thing they tell me is, oh, hey, Holmes, it's all good. It's easy for you to stand there and say that, looking like that, dressed like that, homie, but I just did 45 days in the county jail. And I just laugh at them, right? And I tell them, my G, you did 45 days? Well, last time I did 3 months, and I did 60 days, and I did 2 years. And I said, so altogether, how much time you got? Well, 3 years. I said, I got that time on the toilet, dog. Okay? And then I put a PowerPoint presentation up. And I show them pictures of me being a kid, young and innocent with my family. How could a kid like that be so innocent? And then I go and then to my prison time, right?
Oh, wow.
And I show them the pictures, and I say, that guy, you wouldn't recognize that guy. If I showed him to you right now in just a regular picture and you didn't know that was me, you wouldn't even think it was me. So when people see it on a screen and they're like, oh, okay, and I'm like, that's me. Okay? And you're sitting here crying about 2.5 years. Now look, time is time. But what you do with your time, when you're there, you could get lost in playing and having fun, or you can be that man that when you start going to school, the other fellows are gonna ask you, hey, what are you doing? I'm going to school. For what? I don't know, I'm just taking classes, just occupying my brain. Oh, it's cool. And now people are following you. Now you got 20 homies getting their AA degree from a local college now because them fools are getting into it. And so it just takes one person
to do it,
to stand up and guide people. And you know what? Violence, I know it. Test me, I know what. I wish you would.
Yeah, please don't.
Okay? But that's not gangster to me anymore. What's gangster to me is that I came home and I found a solution to not being part of their recidivism statistics. Okay? I see what it takes for people to come home and how to get on their feet. And if you can catch them before they come home and get involved in bullshit, because what gets you in bullshit? The struggle. Having to survive, having to get rent money, food money. So you start looking for money the only way you know how.
That's right.
Now, again, you're not turning your back on nobody, but you did your time. It's time to come home
and focus on you
and do something, dog. Like really do something.
That's right.
So if I'm, and I tell people when they come to me, hey, Rick, I want to get into trucking. First, he'll tell you. First thing I tell people, I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna help you. minute you waste my fucking time, I'm gonna cut you off faster than a chick will block you, homie. And so 17 drivers I've had at one point, 9 trucks, you know, and Anthony drove for me. I wrote his paycheck for a couple years. You understand what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And it's, I don't look at myself like their boss. I look at myself like the leader that we needed. I look at myself like we all go through an experience. And so 10 years later, you know, my company, and I choose to keep the name private because of, you know, people acting dumb publicly. But
of course,
the name of my company defines the journey we've been on. And so now homies know, like I get calls from random dudes, okay? And I you know, hey, you know what? I heard you could help me out with trucking and whatnot, you know, so-and-so, you know, a friend of yours told me, you know, and whatnot. And yeah, bro, and I help people. Some people come work for me. Shout out the homie that I'm telling you they took to the shoe. Mm-hmm. Boy works for the city now. Fool making like $50 an hour, you know, bought a house. And so it makes me feel good to know that in the 10 years, most of the people I associated with that are out here today are doing good.
Amen to that.
And I've seen a few fall and go back in. It might take them 1 or 2 times.
Happens.
Okay. And I've seen 2 or 3 go back and catch another 20, 30 because someone told them the menu changed, right? And they want to go try the good food that's in there, you know? No aprenden los cabrones. So
everybody's different.
Right. In 10 years, it doesn't feel like 10 years, but in 10 years, I dropped my paper that was behind me. I started a company. I own a house. You know, I teach people. I go to job fairs. I also go and I mentor, you know, at-risk youth and juvenile offenders. I go to halfway houses with the trucking school, you know, talking to people about what you're going to do when you get out of here. This is where you have the time to do this, take advantage of it. Next thing you know, it's like, hey, bro, if I sign up to the school and I get my license, will you hire me? Absolutely. And that helps take now I got these same homies that people once highly feared driving trucks, and they don't give a fuck about anything in the world because they got a house, they got cars, they got, you know, partners now, and they're living a life they never knew. So what I have noticed from my incarceration is that sometimes people just need a helping hand.
That's right.
And it's not set up that way. It's set up for us to fail. You come home and you get a probation officer and they tell you, oh, the first thing you do, you're gonna mess up. I'm gonna violate you. I'm gonna put you inside. Look, we just got done playing cat and mouse for 12 years. I could do this shit all over again. Mm-hmm. How about you come home and tell me, sir, what would you like to do with your life? Well, I want to be a heavy equipment operator. Okay,
I'll send you to this class.
I could put you in Department of Rehabilitation, this, but no. The probation officer is like a failed cop, right? And they want to be cops so bad, they hook them and book them. No, you are receiving a person coming home, and you are supposed to give this person,
guide them the right way,
be their bridge to society. And if we had that, it would help a lot more of our people. And since they don't do it, I do it. It doesn't cost me anything, and if it does, I have the money to pay for it.
That's right.
I don't mind investing in our people, you know, and helping people. And so in 10 years, you know, I guess you could just say I've built a company, you know, with my partner, and you know, he's also, you know, my crimey.
I love that.
So, you know, to come home,
good.
My neighbor to the left is a retired cop. My neighbor to the right is a retired cop. The neighbors across the street they're the chief of the fire department around the corner. And I see the LAPD motorcycle, and I don't live in the LAPD area, okay? But I see the LAPD motorcycle, go to his house. And, you know, I wake up in the morning, I stand there, I just let my dogs play in the front yard, and I just stare, and I think, how the fuck did I get here?
By not giving up on yourself and believing.
Unreal, though. And so some things now, with the mentality I have, leave it to the youngsters, or I just don't put myself in that
part.
In that I go out every now and then, you know, and I'll go to a party or something if it's friends of friends. I've had the chance to really expose my personality and be on camera. And you know, the thing about me is I've always wanted to do it the way where I can I can at least motivate our people. You know, we hear the war stories all the time. Sound like fucking prison. Same war story, different neighborhood, different time frame. Shot this fool, and pa pa pa, and you know that's all you hear.
See, and this is why I love what I do.
Right.
Because people, if you never watch the full episode, and you won't never hear the ending of a positive, like yourself, like
Yes.
you know, everybody. Let's just say maybe like 95% of my guests have successful lives.
Man, I seen that, and watching your podcast, and I was telling the homie right here when I see, you know, and shout out to Icon, man, because like, you know, like the way I met you was a little different than the way you meet most people, but I watched in the time that I've been busy working and touched out, and I saw your podcast come on. You guys are not messy.
No, there's no need.
Okay, and like all the other podcasts, people want to see drama. People want to see cheeseman. People want to see people turning on each other. And this man moves like with finesse. You know, he's gliding in and out. You know, his business, boxing. Like, that's how you...
That's how we're
Our
supposed
people
to be.
want to know how we get there. You got to get out of the bullshit at the bottom, right? And when you get to the top, it gets lonely.
And that, yeah.
You know, you're successful, but you come home to your family, and when you come home to your family, you realize, like, damn, that's priceless.
I love my life.
So, you know, I gotta say that, you know, I really do. You know, I appreciate the
Well,
invite
thank you
here.
for sharing. Thank you for sharing. You know, I didn't even have to say too much. I just sat here and I just listened, which I love.
Yeah,
Because,
yeah.
you know, it gets people going. And it gets people going. It's even like my followers, they're like, oh, we
Conversation.
love this, that you didn't have to pull.
Right.
You're just, it's just natural. It's just natural. And I love that. So thank you again for sharing.
Appreciate
Is there
it.
anything else you want to share before we go?
You know, man, like, you know, to the people who are out there, you know, and like, don't let me knock you, you know, people chasing their dreams, rapping, you know, becoming a personality, whether you're working in the union, like, the most gangster shit you could do is not quit. You wouldn't quit on a yard, right? In the middle of a riot. Don't come out here and quit on this easy ass life. You know what I'm saying? This is the same dedication, the same discipline that you use in there. Use it out here, and you'll get to where you want to get to.
And I always say that live your life out here to an extent, right? Like you're programming in there. Every day is a program. You wake up, you
Yes.
program the same way.
Yes.
There's no different except that you're free in the free world.
And, you know, everybody has a different avenue. For me, Class A license, truck driving changed my whole fucking life. I make money that people you could dream of. And some people say, well, I work in the union, and I get a lot of that.
Everybody's always trying to like battle each other.
Well,
just live life, bro. You make this much, you make
Here's
this much,
my
everybody's
thing.
happy.
You could work 12 hours for the man, and the same 12 hours I work for myself. The reward is bigger. Sure, the risk is bigger, but the reward is bigger.
I understand.
Why get a good retirement plan? I don't give a fuck about your retirement plan if I'm making $2.5 million a year.
And you have your own life insurance. You have your own 401k.
That's my point.
I
right?
sit here for 2 hours.
Right. Homies looking for an easy way out. Fans, people, men, women, like, just stick to your grind.
Stick to what works for
Right.
you.
And if you want to be, you know, if you want to be a thug or a gangster, then
But don't cry, bro. And don't call anybody.
exactly. There's consequences. This shit is real. It really is. It's real, you know? And like I said, some people get caught up in the fame, but they don't realize that there's really dudes back there that paved the way for that name to be feared. And so you can't half-ass this shit. You know, you can't twist shit and just, you know, like, you either are or you're not. Let's
Life
leave
is
it
good.
at that, yeah.
Life is
You know,
good.
I love my
Thank
life.
God.
So
Anything else?
Nah, just, you know, man, shout out to the people that helped me around the, you
Amen.
know, along the way. You know, the few people who believed in me that got a chance. There's still a few people from my past life that are still alive or not doing life that have watched me transition and stuff like that. And they tell me, you know, like, bro, you know, like you really have given me something to look forward to. You know, I came home after 12 years and there's still some fool sitting on the same porch, same doorstep, mama's house, smoking, drinking, ain't done nothing positive. And I'm thinking, bro, I've been home 12. I was gone 12 years. I've been home 10. That's 22. You're still doing the same bullshit. Like, come on, my boy, wake up, you know? And those people try to come around me. It sucks, but one thing I've picked up is my cutoff game. Okay, if you ain't on the time I'm on,
And it gets easier as you get older.
you weren't with me in prison. You didn't send me birthday cards. You didn't send me Christmas letters. And not that I care. Don't come looking for me.
Well, that shit
now.
matters.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
But it matters.
Don't come looking for me now, right? Unless you want help.
Yeah.
If you think you'll come around me for some money, you know, hey, let's get high, like, fool, just miss me with that
Yeah,
shit. You know
for
what
sure,
I'm saying? So
for
anyways, but yeah, that's it. That's all I gotta say, you know. Shout out to the homie You Ain't Hard, fool, you know, for
Shout out to the homie You Ain't Hard.
you know, putting me in touch with Icon too, you know, and stuff like that. And I just, you know, and Negra from Indicted, you know what I'm saying? The homie Big Tone and you know, respect.
Thank you for coming and sharing your experience again. And you guys don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and follow us on Instagram.